Welcome to a Delco Nerd Network podcast. I am your host, Anthony Ragucci, and this is Replay, Relive, and Reexperience, or as we like to call it, Re3s, where you guessed it, we do all three of those things to our favorite video game franchises. In this edition of Re3, we'll be replaying, reliving, and re-experiencing Bethesda Softworks' Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion to celebrate the release of the new remastered version by Virtuos, as well as the anticipation of this game that we think is a thing, but we don't really know is a thing, but is a thing, the Elder Scrolls 6 in the very far future, I think at this point. Here battling the forces of Mehrunes Dagon alongside me, as always, the triple threat, Chris Trio.
Stop, Gooch. You have violated the law.
Serve the court of crime. Or
pay the
court of fine or serve your sentence. Your stolen goods are now forfeit.
I'm ready, Gooch. I'm excited to talk a little Oblivion. It's good to be here. How are you?
Man. I'm doing well. We're structuring this Re3 just to bat it off a little bit differently. So this is the first open world game we've ever done on this series. So as you can imagine, it's kind of hard.
Well, that's not true. Red Dead.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm trying to even think what else have we done. No, I guess
Halo,
you're right. No.
Wolf Among Us.
Wolf Among Us, no.
Red Dead,
yes.
There's one in between Red Dead and Wolf Among Us. What was it? Metal Gear.
Right. No. So yeah, this is our second one, I'd say.
Yeah, but this is like
a full. This is like an open world.
Red
RPG.
Dead is open world, but yeah, this open world is much more.
It's a bit more dense
crazy
in that way.
There's a lot to do in Oblivion. So, as you can imagine, Trio and I, while we could structure our playthroughs the exact same way, that would be insane. I think. And a little bit hard to do.
Right.
So how we're going to be doing it is we're going to be using the main story as our structure pillar. We're going to basically, I think Trio has played beyond what I have played.
A tiny bit, I think.
Yeah, so, but we're going to be using that main story as like, this is the same thing we will prepare for in each episode, but everything else is sort of free game, which makes structuring the podcast a bit challenging, but it's going to be more open-ended. So a lot of the stuff is a bit structured, but we're getting a little loosey-goosey here. You know, we didn't really know we were doing this until the remaster dropped, when we were like, we had talked about it like just a little bit.
It was Schrodinger's Re3 because we just didn't know if it was like a real thing or not.
Right. It's like, okay, should I start preparing for this? And like, I believe we're going to get the announcement, but I don't believe it's going to shadow drop. That totally was incorrect. But, yeah, it totally happened, which is crazy. And we're going to talk about that in a sec, but I do want to check that we're recording live on the podcast,
Looks
which
like
we are.
Yeah.
So we're good.
We are.
But normally before we jump into the game, we give a little bit of background. I do have background for, so we're playing the remaster, right? But it's the same.
So let's get into that really quick though, because yeah, I do want to talk about that.
Oh, what
the remaster versus the remake? Because I do think, like, listen, it's absolutely is a remaster, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is not a remake.
It's like a
lot
remake
of people
from a vision. I get why people think it is to a degree, like especially at first glance. But like if you played Oblivion and then the original and then played this, you're like, oh, this is the same game. It just looks prettier. And there's a few little extra like quality of life improvements when it comes to some combat stuff and a few other things. But yeah, I think it's very much a remaster and not a remake.
Yeah, when it first came out, I was like, oh, someone's like, this is a remake. And I'm like, dude, it plays and looks, and it's the same Oblivion, you know. And that means you're coming across every glitch in the book in Kvatch. I'm actually kind of surprised they didn't fix up certain components of the game. Like, the only crashes I had were when I was crafting potions. I'd hit X crash. Kvatch bugged out on me. Yeah, there's a lot. Everything you loved and remembered from Oblivion is back. All the good and the bad.
For sure.
So, like, it's hard to be like, yeah, it's a remake. Like, it's not, the game is not remade. The combat is the same. The models react differently to your hits. But like,
and I think it does feel more reactive. Like, it feels like you're actually hitting things. And, like, I think there's enough tweaks there to just make it feel much better, but it's also going from something that was pretty bad in the way of combat, I think. Like, it's just, you're just swiping.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's get into the background.
Yeah, so let's talk about our good old dear Bethesda. The company was founded by Christopher Weaver in 1986 as a division of Media Technology Limited. In 1999, it became a subsidiary of ZeniMax Media, which it still is today. In its first 15 years, it was a video game developer and self-published titles, which I guess for all intents and purposes is somewhat still is, especially with Elder Scrolls. Like, Elder Scrolls is still made by Bethesda Softworks, which is owned by ZeniMax, but they're building and publishing their own game.
But they are not technically anymore. Microsoft publishes them now. Because they own it.
Yeah. Actually,
that's, yeah.
Do they publish it, though?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah. 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Oblivion wasn't, though.
Right.
So we're talking about, like, whatever Elder Scrolls 6 will be. Oblivion, this was true.
Definitely. Yeah.
Which is actually interesting. We're talking about we're away from Oblivion, actually, and like the way Bethesda does things now is totally different from how they did it back then.
Well, and it just shows like a different size of company too, I think, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, the self-published thing. In 2001, Bethesda spun off its in-house development into Bethesda Game Studios, leaving Bethesda Softworks to focus on publishing operations. In 1990, the company moved from Bethesda to Rockville, Maryland, and by February 1993, the company employed 40 people. The first game Bethesda published and developed based on a popular film franchise was The Terminator for MS-DOS in July of 91. In 94, the company released its best-known project at the time, The Elder Scrolls Arena. The first game in the Elder Scrolls video game series was the work of programmer Julian LaFay. He was the director and the producer, Vijay Lakshman, as well as others. Several sequels have been released since, including The Elder Scrolls II Daggerfall, which was released in the summer of 96. Sounds like a song.
It does.
In 97 and 98, Bethesda released two of the Elder Scrolls spin-offs based off Daggerfall's code, Battlespire and Redguard, neither of which enjoyed much success compared to Daggerfall and Arena. The downturn in sales was not limited to just the Elder Scrolls franchise, and the company was considering filing for bankruptcy as a result of this. So this is in the 90s. Bethesda Softworks eventually recruited Todd Howard in 94 as a producer. His first game development credit for Bethesda was the producer and designer of the Terminator Future Shock in 95, followed by work as a designer on Skynet and the Elder Scrolls II Daggerfall, both released in 96. He was the project leader for the first time on Elder Scrolls Adventures Redguard, which was released in 98.
I didn't realize they had so many of these spin-offs.
Just the two.
Yeah, I guess those two. Yeah, I guess those two.
I mean, like, general. I guess you could count Blades and like Elder Scrolls Legends, which was the card game, if you remember that.
Right.
Like, they didn't do spin-offs until post Skyrim again. And if you think about it, like, they had the big main pillars of Fallout going on at the same time as like post Oblivion.
It's true.
So they didn't really need to.
No, you're right.
You know, I think at the time, it's like, oh, okay, we need something in between, like these big, between Daggerfall and Morrowind.
Why not
like,
try? Yeah.
Let's use the same assets we already have, which is kind of what
very
New
much
Vegas is.
Except
it's made by a different studio, but it's like, hey, use what we did in Fallout 3, make another Fallout game.
Right.
In October of 99, Pete Hines joined Bethesda to head up its marketing department. And in 2000, Howard was appointed project leader and designer for the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind and its expansions. The game was released in 2002 and was a critical and commercial success, winning several Game of the Year awards. He then led the creation of the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion as its executive producer. After this, he served game director and executive producer for Fallout 3. He directed Skyrim, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, and most recently, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
He directed 76? I thought that was interesting.
He is the director.
Right,
of
yeah,
it.
huh.
So Fallout, Oblivion is Todd Howard's, I would say, first claim to fame. You know, when I was looking up like the background information, there's actually a documentary about Oblivion that was made internally. It honestly had like no information about it. It's just kind of like them making the game and they're like talking about it, but it's not like really like
There's not a lot of in depth.
there's no like nuggets of
Very
information.
high level stuff.
Yeah, it's like here, like they talk about some of their tech demos, but like they really don't get into the nitty gritty. I'm like, this was like useless. Like, I learned nothing from this. That the Terrence Stamp stuff is in that.
I was gonna say, isn't there a clip of them watching it recently too? Like the team watching it? Yeah.
Yeah. There was basically they brought Pete Hines back, and basically like that original Oblivion team that is in that documentary watched it again for the remaster, and they re-released it, which is pretty funny. But all of those people are like still there.
Who's laughing now, Gooch?
Except Pete Hines, who retired.
Yeah.
Which is pretty crazy. I feel like at the end of this, we're gonna have to talk about Todd Howard, and he's got to be I think I talked about it in our Elder Scroll, like our Skyrim podcast we did a few years ago, that I feel like Todd Howard's last game will be the Elder Scrolls 6.
I wouldn't be surprised. I'd say that at the very least, Fallout 5 at the last.
Like you can't see him like hanging around.
Well, I mean, he is getting. I mean, how old is he now?
He's got to be. I would say
in his 50s
or 60s. He has kids, and they're like a tad younger than us.
I would say, at most, he's got 20. Because you want some time to retire. If he really loves his job, he's there for 15 more years, or 20 years. If he wants to retire sooner, I think it's before Fallout 5. I think Elder Scrolls 6 will be his magnum opus, if you will. Yeah. But please continue.
But the point, I went out of my way to find like when Pete Hines joined and when Todd Howard joined, because they're such key pillars of Bethesda at this point. Development on Oblivion began shortly after the release of Morrowind in 2002.
In 2002.
Yeah, 2002. Building on the critical and commercial success of Morrowind, Bethesda Game Studios set out to create a more immersive and accessible... a more immersive, accessible, and technological advanced RPG that would expand the scope and detail of its predecessor. Bethesda's primary goal with Oblivion was to create a living, breathing fantasy world that felt reactive and believable, which I think they succeeded on.
I agree.
The studio aimed to appeal to both hardcore RPG fans and a broader audience by streamlining some of Morrowind's more complex systems while still maintaining the freedom and depth the series was known for. Go ahead.
I do think Oblivion is that kind of perfect mix of Morrowind and Morrowind's complexity and Skyrim's accessibility. And, I think a lot of people fairly think they leaned into it a little bit too hard when it came to Skyrim.
Yeah, it became more of an action RPG.
And just a bit more accessible to a point that people feel dumbed down and isn't as enjoyable. So I can appreciate that totally, but even going back to Oblivion, it is interesting to go back to see how they designed quests and like to see even like the Dark Brotherhood quest line, like just a bit more complex and interesting in certain ways. And you can tell certain things were just given more attention maybe in later games, but it is interesting to see that them straddle that line.
Do you see the D&D of Elder Scrolls in Oblivion?
Definitely.
Now that we are both versed in D&D.
For sure.
With, like the custom class.
Yeah.
I mean, the races, obviously. They added like origins in the remaster, which is new, but essentially it's like it's a subclass or it's a subrace,
right,
and it's like where are they from, and it kind of affects your skills a little bit differently, but like it's clearly like D&D influenced.
Absolutely.
You can really feel that, which was interesting to go back to kind of being like, oh yeah,
and
it is.
I hope they do, and I think they know that people are wanting this. They want more complex RPG systems,
right? We don't want more action.
Well, even not action. It's
skill trees, because I think that's one of Skyrim's biggest flaws.
Sure, yeah.
Compared to the leveling system is a bit, I don't know, obtuse
in
Oblivion.
Yeah.
But like in Skyrim, it's like in Oblivion you can become a jack of all trades. You can also do that in Skyrim, but like you're still really limited because you're not picking perks in a certain tree.
I agree.
And you can keep leveling ad infinitum, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But like it gets really hard to level up at certain points.
No, you're right. And I do think that again there's a careful balance there, and I would love to see like Bethesda lean back into at least the option of making things more complicated, which they do in Starfield with a lot of the updates. I was just
going to say, I'm like trying to remember Starfield. It's been so long.
A lot of the new updates in Starfield, you can turn on like hunger and like different environmental stuff and things like that. So I hope that they add those options into Elder Scrolls and make it a bit more in depth in that regard.
Like KCD does.
Right. And also, but you can turn that shit off. Make it so you can do that. That's fine if people want to do that to make that accessible for people.
Right.
But have the complexity there for folks who want it. And I think, Oblivion really does kind of strike that balance very well.
Oblivion was developed using the Gamebryo engine, which offered enhanced graphical capabilities over Morrowind. The game made extensive use of normal mapping, real-time lighting, and large draw distances, and high-resolution textures. It also incorporated the Havoc's physics engine, allowing for more dynamic and believable interactions with the environment, such as objects reacting to touch and spells, or characters ragdolling on death, which made for great memes.
I mean, that is like quintessential to Bethesda's like well-being or like
identity.
Yeah. Like you can go into a room and I can pick up a plate and throw it across the room. Everything's almost interactable within the environment.
Yeah, I can goofily drag around Lucien Lachance's dead naked corpse.
Right.
Like
who cares?
It's all really integral to like what Bethesda's identity would later become.
You show me that without any other context, I'm like, oh, this is a Bethesda game. What is this? What's good? Like you could have no dressing on it. It could just be the character model, the way they fall. I know that. I know
this next paragraph. I think we definitely have to talk about, but it's so. I don't know what the Radiant system does for gaming as a whole is insane. One of Oblivion's most ambitious features was its Radiant AI system, a new artificial intelligence framework designed to give NPCs lifelike behavior. NPCs were given daily routines that include eating, sleeping, working, and socializing. They could make decisions on needs and environment, and an innovation for the time that helped distinguish Oblivion from other RPGs. I mean, we all know the Radiant AI. Like, I feel like that's a very, we all know that system, especially once we get to the Radiant quests with Skyrim. But Oblivion feels like a real world. Like, bar none. Even now.
Feels
like,
reactive to you.
It's goofy. It's got a lot of charm. It's a bit bare bones.
It's the hero of Kvatch. Oh my god. Like, it's that stuff.
But like, they're reacting to a point in a quest you got, or the arena, or something that's going on in the world.
Champion.
Like, they're talking about it not with you, but with other people.
Yeah.
And some ex NPC, they go to sleep, they go to work, they sit in the shop, then they go back to the inn, and then they go home. Like, it's not, do they do the same thing every day? Sure, but like, it's much more than any other RPG was doing at the time.
But that's like the embryo of the idea that has fed into think about even Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah.
That's Red Dead 2.
Yeah.
That's the exact thing. I mean, it's on a much larger scale, and the AI is way more in depth, but that's where the kernel of this idea
This is the base in which we talk about it with Skyrim a lot, where Skyrim is the base for everything moving forward. But I think Oblivion was like the bedrock,
like
for
the inception point.
Yeah, like it really started with Oblivion. Like,
and even you could probably even step back even to Morrowind. So, but yeah, you're right.
Oblivion walked so Skyrim could fucking sprint.
No, it's true.
Like it's talked about a lot, and I think it's kind of like, all right, but like it's important.
It's
really important for open world games.
I don't know if they'll ever get to this, and maybe they will at some point. But doing a similar type of treatment to Morrowind, I wonder if those types of touch ups would. Because listen, I've tried Morrowind a few times. I get it. I've been explained as so many times as to why it's so cool, and I agree, and I can't help but agree, especially when someone who really loves it starts to explain to you. But I just can't. I've tried so many times.
It's
really
not
tough.
accessible.
It's
and the
really
game
not.
doesn't run well on new systems.
Yeah,
and it still crashes and shit. Like, it definitely needs a new code of paint.
I think if they gave it like this exact coat of paint, like just made everything feel a bit better. You don't necessarily have to change the systems. Those are going to be tough.
I think it's like too old, and it kind of maybe
needs
does.
even more of that.
Yeah, because it's not like Fallout 1, where like that game really has a distinct style that like if you remade, it's unidentifiable.
Yeah.
I think Morrowind also needs that, but like it's just like I don't think Oblivion needed the remake. I think what we have with the remastered is totally good, but I think moving back to Morrowind, you kind of see it's like,
how does any of this work? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it really needs the remake.
But
and
I also think
not to dumb it down.
No, I know.
But like just to be like, hey, like,
and that's the hard part.
We reimagined it. Yeah.
That's the tough balance you'd have to create, because the people who love that game love it for what it is. They love the systems. They love how complicated, for lack of a better term, everything is to a degree, and it makes it rewarding. So that's definitely going to be a tougher dance to master.
Set in the imperial province of Cyrodiil, Oblivion featured a more traditional high fantasy aesthetic compared to the alien landscapes of Morrowind. The world was lush and varied, containing forests, plains, mountains, and the sprawling capital city of the Empire. Bethesda employed a procedural generation system to help build the massive game world, which was manually refined by designers to ensure quality and uniqueness. Oblivion's world is truly incredible. I think it's one of my favorite open worlds because of this high fantasy aesthetic where, like, think about Skyrim. Skyrim going out in the open world feels kind of dangerous. It feels a bit oppressing.
It's much more dour.
Cold.
Yeah.
And yeah, the color palette and the way everything looks, like, it's good,
You're
but
in the cold north.
it's a different kind of vibe.
Yeah.
In Cyrodiil, despite hell unleashing upon the earth and like shit going awry, Oblivion is cozy.
But that even feels like super high fantasy. Like when you go up to an Oblivion gate and the sky turns red and it slowly overtakes and it's like, ooh, this is like awesome. And it's like all bright and colorful, but yeah, it's red and dark and scary.
Yeah, there's something like, and it's also the music of like walking around Cyrodiil, and it just feels like kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like,
and people did bring up like, and I think this is a fair critique where when you are remaking games like this, or not even remastering even, there is a tendency to want to really introduce that hardcore realistic lighting that Oblivion originally didn't have. It's much more fantasy. There's a lot of bloom going on and everything's super like bright.
Yeah,
and
like
green.
in the original, like you can't see like all the way fucking.
Not even like that. I mean more
you can't
just like,
see the throat of the world in Skyrim.
Right, right.
In the original,
but I even mean just like there's almost like a very bright and vibrant like fantasy tint to it. Like everything's like got a haze over it almost. Like it feels like you're in a bit of a dream that they kind of sacrificed, I think, on the remake and just made it look realistic because and I think that works.
I hear it from a certain angle, but like
it doesn't bother me that much. I should say, preface that.
Yeah, I still think it's there.
I think it's just a fair critique to a degree.
And I don't think any other RPG has really captured that atmosphere. Like I could not tell you a game that like I would compare its world and feel to Oblivion.
It's still far, but sort of like I guess Witcher's not high fantasy. Is that dark fantasy?
Like
because like that
Witcher,
feels almost sometimes
everyone's fucking
like,
poor. Everyone
yeah.
think about like the plot, like the political nature of it. Everything's
sure.
kind of shit.
Yeah.
Like even though things are going to shit in Oblivion, it doesn't really feel like the world is going to shit.
Right.
Like there are beggars here and there, but like look at Anvil and like, okay, Breville and Leowin are kind of shitty,
but they're also, I like how different they are because they're in like the swamp area and stuff like that.
But they don't all feel like every little village you go to in Velen feels down on its luck.
No, it's true.
These people are starving.
Yeah, that's
not
true.
doing well. But that's not a focus in Oblivion.
No, for sure.
Like in Witcher, it's clearly like a narrative beat.
Absolutely.
Like these towns are the way they are. But that also could be like pointing out the age and the scope of Oblivion, that they just were like weren't thinking about this. In Skyrim, it does feel like there is a civil war going on. There's a lot of factions.
Right.
The Nords are divided. There's not only the dragons are back in the country, but the Imperials and the Stormcloaks are fighting within their towns.
Worship a god anymore that they want. Like I did. Right. It is interesting to hear the 9 gods in this again, and then worshiping Talos and
different context for Talos, because like I don't really think I knew about Talos in Oblivion, but it's a different. I have a different perspective on it now.
And honestly, I will say playing this has made me appreciate some of Oblivion's choice changes, or at least changes.
Skyrim's changes.
Skyrim's changes in the way of like, I'm fine with them going to this more Nordic, harsh fantasy setting after this super high fantasy, but what's the rumor for 6? Is it High Rock? Is that supposedly the one that they're going to?
Hammerfell.
Or is it Hammerfell?
Where the Red Guards are from.
Okay.
I like Elsewhere is kind of like my bet. I would love to see the Khajiit.
That's like a jungle though, right?
No, it's the desert. The jungle is Black Marsh.
Because I know, we only have that one Elder Scrolls 6 teaser. It looks very much like roving green hills and like castles and stuff.
But, dude,
so I'm curious as to where.
Take that trailer and toss it in the trash, because I think it means nothing.
No,
like the game has come so far from that it may not even be what Elder Scrolls 6 is.
I think they've had that setting locked since they put that trailer out, and I think
you could be right.
I would bet. I feel like I feel confident to bet money.
How much would you
enough.
bet on it?
I would bet a burger at Shake Shack.
Okay.
I do think that they've had that in locked. I do think that's like, I can't see them doing the setting now and changing it to like it's a desert setting or something like that drastically different.
That's true.
I think it's going to be emblematic of what we saw
I
in
think
that
that's
world-wise.
why people do say Hammerfell or maybe High Rock.
That's what I thought too. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Exactly. So I don't know. I'm excited to see them get back to that super high fantasy setting for sure.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that in this, definitely.
Yeah. The main storyline revolves around the assassination of Emperor Riorial Septim VII and the opening of the gates to Oblivion, a demonic realm populated by Daedra. Players were tasked with closing these gates and helping restore order and finding the Emperor's illegitimate heir, Martin. The game also featured a wide array of side quests, guilds, hidden lore, which added depth and replayability. The events of Oblivion would later be known as the Oblivion Crisis and would mark the end of the Third Era. I mean, how could you forget?
So,
this is the closing days of the Third Era. Thanks.
God, thank you, Patrick Stewart, for doing this. By the way,
Once we get to Patrick Stewart, dude, like
so good.
he
locks you in.
He was not Marlon Brando in Superman.
No, he was not.
He came in and is like, "I'm going to give you the best performance
of
I've
my
ever
fucking life."
done.
Yeah. No, it's so good.
A significant improvement over Morrowind was the addition of fully voiced dialogue for all characters, which is probably something we are going to be talking about through this whole thing. Bethesda brought in notable actors such as Patrick Stewart as Emperor Uriel Septim, Sean Bean as Martin Septim, and Terrence Stamp as Mankar Cameron. While the inclusion of voice acting added cinematic flair, the limited number of voice actors for minor NPCs led to notable repetition across the world. Some of the actors included Wes Johnson in voicing Imperial males, Lucien Lachance, Demora, Malakath, and Shea Gorath, and Linda Carter, also known as Wonder Woman, as the female Nords and
Forgot
Orcs.
she was in this too.
I think there is something with her with this game. She knew somebody, or like there's a connection to the reason why she's in this.
That's interesting.
Because she comes back in Fallout 4. She actually is like a character in that. The singer.
Yeah, she's a singer, right? Yeah.
Good Neighbor.
Yep.
But you know, is it her best? I'm sure it's the first time she ever voice acted. But like, is her performance bad? It's got flair and charm that like is a part of Oblivion's core.
Right. No, it's
like,
the quirkiness.
Yeah, and like dude, this happens a lot. Every time I hear the new voice acting, I'm like, fuck. You know, like I wish it was like the high elf, like the original high elf guy is like so funny. Like there's
a charm to it. There is.
Yeah, like the girl, the dark elf who talks about the necrophilia and Skingrat, like they changed her voice acting, but I could tell like adoring fan, obviously they're not going to change.
Right.
Like there are some people who it's like that delivery and like
so specific.
Yeah, like changing Lucien Lachance from Wes Johnson.
Yeah, it's like that's.
I don't think they didn't change. Well, they do have another Imperial person, but like important characters played by Wes Johnson are left alone.
And you still hear them all the time, even as the guards.
So are you having that similar thought where it's like, I wish it was
funny,
like the original?
I'm not noticing the new voices really. I feel like they're actually blending in well enough.
Because you know him from Skyrim.
That's probably part of it too.
The Dark Elf is the guy who plays Joshua Graham.
I know they changed the Khajiits too, right, to make them sound like Khajiits.
Yeah, the Khajiit is the person from Oblivion. The orcs are the people from Skyrim.
You're probably spot on there.
It's the same voice actors.
It's not really registering even with me, like to notice that.
Like, wow, I've never heard that voice before. It's like, no, you know it from Skyrim.
Well, and I think because all the important ones are still there, that it's like those side, like that girl who talks about the necrophilia or whatever. Like, I don't really remember that one, so. That's not going to stand out to me personally when I get to it.
Yeah,
you know
but
what I mean?
I also think it's good they did just kind of, hey, let's just go to the people who already did this, and like we're not like you're kind of just re-recording stuff for like the sake of quality.
Exactly.
Like it's a very weird gig. Like somebody already did this. You're just kind of redoing it.
Well, and
like we're not going to change anything.
Yeah, even like it's like, all right, so we'll make all the Khajiits sound like Khajiits. We'll make all the Argonians sound a certain way. It's just stuff to immerse you a little bit more. Again, tiny little touch-ups.
Jeremy Soule returned to compose the musical score, which became one of the most iconic aspects of the game, enhancing the sense of wonder and adventure. Soule's also known for games like Guild Wars 1 and 2, and he later went on to do Skyrim. I really hope. I know Jeremy Soule was okay. Do you know what happened with him?
No.
He was not found guilty. Stuff with a minor.
Oh.
Or something like that.
Sure.
I'm not exactly sure the details, but like he's been like off the radar since. I really hope he comes back for Elder Scrolls 6.
Well,
he wasn't found guilty. Like I don't know what happened with all this, but it's kind of like, man, Jeremy Soule's music is like integral to Elder Scrolls.
He's not coming back though. Even if it's like a sort of maybe, and it's to do with children.
Yeah,
there.
Yeah, I could be wrong. I'm not exactly sure of the it was like a situation with a woman.
Right.
So I get it. It's fucked up. I mean, if he did it, definitely not. But like at the same time, I'm like, man, are they gonna get like Einon Zur to come in because like he's the one who's done most of their scores?
Well, when did that happen though?
A while ago.
Could have been done Elder Scrolls 6 music already. Like sadly,
true. It's probably. I was
gonna say the music's probably one of the. I would assume one of the earlier
we'll
things,
see.
But I don't know.
Soul's score is iconic.
Yeah.
The Oblivion music, I think, especially, is like just there's something about it, dude. I've been listening to that score, that album, since the remasters come out, like often.
I think they do a good job, even with Oblivion, or Skyrim, of like creating a very like recognizable score and just music. I mean, even with Skyrim, that like you know Skyrim as soon as you hear it, you know Oblivion.
Yeah, the Empire theme is,
right.
It's in all the games. But like compared to Morrowind's theme, to Oblivion's theme, to Skyrim's theme, they're all the same song, but like retooled to fit the game. Oblivion would have many successful expansions and DLCs, most famously its horse armor pack, which was the first of its kind, which is crazy. One of the first DLCs we ever got in
aesthetics,
was the horse armor pack. We had to pay like $7.
Yeah, I think it was like $5,
which is wild today. Wild, And
I mean, it's honestly that seems like nothing by today's standards. Now you buy a fucking $20 skin pack.
Yeah.
Which, actually, $5 back then was probably more like 15 now. So
Oblivion was officially announced in 2004 and released on March 20th of 2006 for Microsoft Windows and Xbox 360, with a PlayStation 3 version arriving in 2007. It received widespread critical acclaim for its graphics, open world design, and freedom of choice. However, it also received some criticism for its level scaling system, which still sucks. Which made enemies increase in difficulty alongside the player, sometimes leading to frustrating gameplay as well as its dungeon designs, which are still bad, which were created in late development by one level designer who used pre-made templates to create dungeon and NPCs faces, which were all made by one person in one day.
They're all of their dungeons.
No, the dungeons weren't. The NPC faces were. They were all made in one day by one guy, which is why they looked so ugly. That's it.
Yeah,
that's
that
like.
Yeah.
But the dungeons,
they didn't put a lot of time into it. Yeah,
the dungeons, especially in the remaster, I'm like, oh my god, it's the same fucking cave. The alien ruins, I'm kind of okay with.
I like the aliens. I like the Oblivion gates. I like the forts. But yeah, the caves suck.
Are like, dude, it's that same slope up with the light. Like, here it is.
And it's not that big. And I don't feel like I'm getting a lot of like really good loot out of them either.
And that's why I said, like, I feel like exploring like you do in Skyrim, like, I'm surprised they didn't add the like cleared status on locations. Like, I'm like, that's my OCD, like, out the window.
No, it would be nice to have that knocked off. And I think Fred was talking about in Discord how those are meant to be replayed. And I think you can even still replay them in, like, Skyrim will repopulate dungeons even after you clear them. Like, if you want to go in. But
Skyrim
I don't know
does
if
it too.
Yeah, I don't know if it, like, if it, like, repopulates, like,
so,
the
like,
loot, though.
Like, exploring the world with no destination is kind of silly. Well, because, like, I think you just make yourself tired of the game.
Definitely. I think you can't do it necessarily maybe as much as you did in Skyrim.
Yeah.
I think it's still there. And I mean, even in Skyrim, you hit those repeat dungeons and a lot of the same, like, reuse assets and things like that.
The Drog burrows. Or,
yeah.
like,
and, you know, even some of the caves, even some of the, like, the snow elf ones, not the Falmer caves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think that's unfortunately just going to be something you're going to run into a lot of issues with when you do these types of games. I would love to see that, and then, you can start trying to use more procedural generation stuff. I'm very curious as to what a dungeon looks like in Elder Scrolls 6. I'm very curious.
I'm curious to see what the entire game looks like.
No, I know. And
think about Red Dead 2 and like what it did compared to Red Dead 1, and how I think Red Dead 2 is like kind of like a new base for open world, and how
you're right.
It interacts with the player. Like, I mean, Starfield is limited. But Starfield was also, there was a lot new going on.
It's also just a completely different design, that
limited
philosophy. Yeah, like it's not the same as
Elder Scrolls 6. Like, can't be bad. Like it's going to be good. We know that
it's going to be a Bethesda RPG you're gonna like it or not if you like theirs for sure.
It's gonna be good, Drew.
And I think I'd be surprised if I didn't enjoy it. Yeah,
Right.
like at the same time for sure.
So just a little bit left here. Despite that, Oblivion was a commercial success, a landmark RPG of its generation. It won numerous Game of the Year awards and significantly expanded the audience for the Elder Scrolls series. Its innovations in AI, world design, accessibility laid the groundwork for the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, which would go on to become an even more success.
A mainstay to this day.
Yeah. And I only have one paragraph about the remaster. In 2023, now we're going back to the 20s. I don't need to say 2000. The FTC versus Microsoft trial documents disclosed an Oblivion Remaster slated for release. This is the first time we heard about it was during this trial. Further rumors from Nate the Hate and Jeff Grubb indicated that Oblivion Remaster would be shadow dropped in April 2000. God damn it! I did it again.
2025 works too.
Yeah, but like we know it says that.
Yeah,
2025. The week prior to the release. Wait.
Sorry.
Okay. It shadow dropped in April 2025. That was the rumor. The week prior to release, in-game images and promotional materials were discovered on Virtuoso's website. On April 21st, 2025, Bethesda confirmed the remaster's existence by announcing a live stream scheduled for the following day and announced and dropped the game on the next day on the April 22nd, 2025.
It's hilarious that the people who like finally fully confirmed it was Virtuos itself. And apparently, I guess it was from like data mining. Like it wasn't just on their pages on their website. Someone like data mined their website.
Yeah, basically like it was like the site was ready to launch.
Right,
like,
yeah.
For when it shadow dropped.
And they just dropped all these images, and that's when we were all like, oh my God, it's real. Like it's really real.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we'd literally been talking about it for 2 years.
Well, and I felt like there was
all the rumors, and it was just like, this has been going on so long. Like, how can these possibly be correct?
Well, and it felt like there was like 4 months straight of it. Like, it's coming this month. It's coming this month. It's coming this month. And then finally,
shadow dropping.
And then April hit, and it finally actually did.
And it just seems so impossible.
It does.
For them, shadow drops have happened before. Apex Legends shadow dropped. Hi-Fi Rush shadow dropped. But a game of this caliber, like it just seemed like seems like a step too far. Like it's impossible to launch a game of this size and importance in a day.
See, I think this is the only game you can do that with.
Because
it's a known quantity, because it's a remake of a beloved game that people know about and hear about all the time. A bunch of people love Skyrim. A bunch of people who have played the shit out of Skyrim. There's a lot of people never touched this game.
Yeah.
This is the first introduction for them. They're like, another Elder Scrolls to sate me a little bit right now? Yeah, I'll pick that up immediately. Yeah. And then you got me and you who love this game, grew up with this game. We're buying it day one. I think you can only do this type of drop with something like this.
A known quantity.
With a known quantity like this.
I think this year has been a huge year for Xbox.
You know what, Gooch? They're finally, that hand you've been talking about, it finally actually feels like they're playing some of it, which is good to see.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that back up. I forgot about that. But like, look at PlayStation right now. Like, I'm not to compare them, but like, of course we're going to. They've never done anything like this. Sure, and to think like, what's a PlayStation equivalent of this? I don't
shadow
know.
drop? No, yeah.
I have no idea. But guess what? Oblivion Remaster's on PlayStation. So it's kind of a win for everybody, but it's definitely a win for Microsoft, who launches a very successful game on their competitor's platform.
Yeah. It's still, optimally, though, that would drive people to their platform and actually want to buy it. But now they've just totally given up on that. So they're just going to take the win in the sales of the game.
The Gears was a part of this rumored thing. Yeah. Like, the Marcus Phoenix collection was apparently it, but, we're getting the Ultimate Edition on PlayStation. Like, Xbox has been doing this for a while now. We're saying they're going to do it, and now we're getting the big heavy hitters. It's really a matter of time until we see the Master Chief Collection go to PlayStation and Switch and
I wouldn't even be surprised if they piecemeal it out to them. Make them pay. Like, honestly, if I was Xbox, man, each one's $40. Take it. I would be selling everything at a premium to the competitor to subsidize my Game Pass.
But they're not doing that.
That's what they are right now. I mean,
Oh yeah, because there's
In the way
no
of, like-
option for Game Pass. on
Right. So
PlayStation,
basically,
So you have
a
to
lot of
buy
these are subsidizing Game Pass, and hey, that works. I mean, that's what they got to do.
and you
at
get
this point.
like we both got the premium edition, right? Or
No, I didn't get the premium edition.
Oh, okay, you didn't.
No, because
Okay.
it was just like some armor and stuff,
Yeah,
right? I was
I actually I did one of the quests last night, so I'll talk about
Yeah.
it. But it feels like creator club content,
Right, right.
they just like it's like a weird quest that like doesn't really have a lot of substance to it, and then you get this like sick armor set that feels like a bit like. Yeah, I don't fit in.
Right,
you know,
right,
I look
right.
too cool.
Yeah, this is
Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like. But I was like done by it. You know, I'm curious if we'll ever get a physical release of this. I think
Yeah.
that was like what we were talking about. It's like, how can you shadow drop a physical release? Well, they're
like you can't.
never going to
Yeah, they're
physically release it.
or you have to release it physically at a later date, which I don't think is.
Yeah,
probably gonna
I
happen
don't
with
think
this.
they will. You know, maybe when they release, when they re-reveal Elder Scrolls 6, maybe they'll package Oblivion and Skyrim together, and you know, like we'll all buy it.
Yeah.
You know, I think I literally just thought of that right here,
No,
right
I think
now.
it's-
I
no.
did not think about that, but that would be
That makes sense.
a move.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people would, again, rebuy games they've rebought, and I would say up to 3 times at this point.
Well, if I could get that physically, I probably would.
Exactly.
Buy it,
I would buy that physically because we don't have the remaster physically.
Right.
And I have the anniversary edition physically. So, and that's probably what would be included in that. I don't think we're going to get a new version of Skyrim. I think like where it's at now is pretty much it.
Right. Right.
But let's talk about growing up with Oblivion. And I want to start us off because I remember my first playthrough of Oblivion in 7th grade extremely well. I started in March of that year, so it was 2007. And I was playing baseball at the time. I remember like kind of like that was going on, and I was coming home, and it was one of the first games I got for the 360, and I was just playing Oblivion. I looked back at my achievements. I was gonna look at yours, because I was like, I wanted the dates of like when I went
you can
through
see it on there.
Oblivion. I'm like, you could probably look it up right now while I'm talking,
looking, yeah.
which means you should.
That's what I already had.
It's like Drio's already doing it. I finished Oblivion in its entirety in like 2 months.
I love it, dude.
And
I
was like, I finished the arena in like a day. Like I just
did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was but I remember it. I really remember. I remember what order I did it. I did Arena, Fighters Guild, Dark Brotherhood, Mages Guild, Thieves Guild. And I saved Thieves Guild for post game. Like again, following my achievements, like I'm seeing it. And then I did all the DLC afterwards. I don't think I owned them until I like went to do them, and I'm like, oh, I need the, I need Frostcrack Spire and Battle Swarm, like all those like rinky dink DLCs is really what they are.
Right.
Like they just don't like, they're fine, but like they're really like a bunch of nothing.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know. That was like when I think back on it and I was like questioning it, I was like, was this my first open world RPG? It was.
Yeah.
It was, and I was absolutely enraptured by what Bethesda made, and like, talking to all those people, and I never noticed that there were 7 voice actors.
No.
I didn't care.
No.
And
You were
even still
enthralled.
now I don't.
Yeah.
And like Oblivion, I think a lot of people have a similar experience that I did, where like this is your first open world RPG, and it's one of the best. So like anyone making anything after this is living
gonna
up
be
to
compared
this
to that.
this bar.
And I just remember waiting for the follow up, being like, when
Which,
are they going to do
in
this?
all grand scheme of things,
Really
wasn't
wasn't
too
that
far
long.
after.
No, it really
but
wasn't.
I remember watching Skyrim get announced. It was I think it was still Spike VGA Awards, and Todd Howard and co coming out in cloaks.
Everyone's
and,
yeah.
and announcing it, and the 11/11 release date, like iconic moments of gaming here.
Iconic.
But Trio, like, you're a year younger than me. What's your experience with Oblivion as a kid?
Gooch, I think this was also my first RPG, genuinely, that I finished all the way through. I remember trying it once and not understanding it and getting very annoyed.
I mean,
and there was a lot of overwhelming mechanics.
I think there are a lot of things in Oblivion that now replaying it's
Well, it was
I
like,
definitely
just go to
didn't
this
understand.
place. And I'm like, well, what am I doing? Oh, what's the mark? Oh, I have to walk all the way across here? I didn't even realize I could like fast travel at the time.
Yeah,
and I
to
was
the
like,
main cities right away.
and I was just
yeah.
like, I'm not getting this. I don't like this. I'm going to put it down.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what inspired me again. I was like, you know what? I want to give this
like
another
shortly
try.
after?
Yeah, somewhat shortly after, because I'm trying to think here.
your achievements have dates?
Yeah, they do. So 8/20/2009 was when I got my first one.
So you were a freshman in high school.
So that was the first one that's when I first tried it. And then now there's a break until when I closed an Oblivion gate in 6/20/2010.
Okay.
So I think
I love it. I love the timeline.
That's when I really got back into
I love it.
and being like, oh, I get this now.
Yeah, so
and
like
then I slowly started to really like, I hit all the achievements. And then by the time 2011 rolled around, I had all of them. And
did you get all the achievements?
Yeah, I have all of them.
Yeah, I mean,
this.
it's a pretty easy game.
Yeah,
too.
the only one I was missing was like the Duke of Dementia because you have to go back and do that again.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
have to make a save. I hate that.
I mean, and I will say for this, you don't need it for the platinum. Technically, on PlayStation, they're two separate trophy lists, which is odd.
Yeah, well, it's DLC,
right? But I'm
DLC.
surprised that they just right. I guess like making it a full package like that. I'm surprised you don't just make it like one list.
Right. I agree.
But yeah, no, dude, nothing but grand times with this. I remember playing it multiple times. I remember just being absolutely blown away. And just being like, I need another Elder Scrolls. And it showed me what an RPG could be. It showed us all these systems. It showed the world reacting, like we said. It was hard not to compare it to everything else after that, for sure.
Yeah, and then, I think Skyrim opens Elder Scrolls up for a bigger audience, which we talked about. And then, like, your buddy who you would never see playing Oblivion is playing Skyrim.
Yeah. And honestly, I think the only thing that holds Oblivion back for most people is the visual stuff and a bit of the jank. And guess what?
That's
everything that's been
it's
covered now. Yeah,
it's important.
And it's important for a modern audience for sure. You need to get someone to go back to that game because it's a bit of a tough sell. I think you can get through it and do it for sure. But
when we were talking about the remake or the remastered, and I'm like, I think we thought it was a remake.
We honestly, I
don't think we knew.
Yeah.
So I think the logical thing was to be like, it's a remake.
Well, I knew we heard. I was actually just so confused because we kept hearing like this is the original game running underneath an Unreal 5 recreation of the game.
It's kind of like Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary.
I think that's the closest, example for sure. I mean, you can't like switch back between the visuals, but as far as I understand it, the idea is that the original game code is acting as like the brain, and then that's moving all of the Unreal 5 engine parts. I don't know. I've never heard of a remake like this, genuinely. So I had no idea what to expect.
Yeah, Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary is kind of like there are two engines running on top of each other.
Right.
Because like you can switch between them both.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I don't know what technical magic that it requires, but I imagine Oblivion Remaster and Halo like are kind of pretty like are technical marvels. Like how do they run like that?
Well,
like,
and even
I don't know.
Yeah, because you need that type of specific Bethesda feel, like how I can pick up everything, like we were saying, like how everything in the environments interactable. So they nailed it. That's for sure.
Yeah. So before we talk about getting into the game, let's talk about the events up until Oblivion, because believe it or not, the entire Elder Scrolls series takes place in the Third Era.
Really quick. Yeah. So where does the Elder Scrolls like stuff come from? Was that just made by Bethesda? Okay. Yeah. I didn't know if it was like
another IP.
Like a thing, like an IP that they used.
Like Dungeons and Dragons.
Right, yes. or even just like Lord of the Rings, even literally, like there were Elder Scrolls books or something.
It's original.
Okay, cool.
I'm sure you could kind of get information on that, but it
like
is all original.
It's a Bethesda creation.
Yeah. So the game takes place in the Third Era 433. So the events of Arena take place in 389. So that's doing math, 50 years before?
About that, yeah.
Yeah, so the events of the Elder Scrolls Arena take place, and the Imperial Simulacrum begins, where Jagger-Tharn captures Emperor Uriel Septim VII, same emperor, and assumes his identity for 10 years, and he is rescued by the Eternal Champion in 399. So basically, the events of the game, the Emperor is like taken to Oblivion and like hidden there.
And that's what Arena's about?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Jagger-Tharn takes the place of Uriel Septim and pretends to be him for 10 years.
I know, I did hear that part,
and he talks a little bit about it in this game where he's like
not since I was replaced or something. Yeah.
Yeah, the Imperial Simulacrum is brought up, like that event, but it's not like spelled out to you.
I didn't realize that was the events of Arena.
I didn't realize this until I made this doc.
That's funny.
I knew about Oblivion, but not about the other game. So let's jump about 10 years, or maybe like 8. 405 of the Third Era. The events of the Elder Scrolls II Daggerfall take place. Uriel Septim sends an agent who would become the hero of Daggerfall to High Rock to investigate the haunting of Daggerfall by King Lysandius. That's Daggerfall. So again, Euroseptum sends the main character there, all kind of tied together. It's interesting that this, like, he is at the core of.
I just didn't
this.
realize that. Yeah, all these took place in the third era. Yeah.
High Chancellor Okato is also in this game, and there are people. You know how back in the day they did like live action.
Yeah,
there's a live action version of like Uriel Septim and High Chancellor Okato like talking to the main character.
That's funny.
It's pretty funny. And then we jump 22 years ahead to 427. The events of Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind take place, and the Nerevarine is discovered, and the prophecy of the Nerevarine takes place. In short, a dark elf essentially like frees the Dunmer people from Vivek, Alexia, and like the dark elf. They're essentially like human gods.
Oh, okay.
Or like mortal gods. Like they use the heart of Lorcan, which is why the Dwemer disappear. They were like investigating this really powerful artifact. It's in Skyrim, the dagger they use to like mess with it, and they just disappear. And the heart of Lorcan is that artifact. So the tribunal, the members of the Dunmer, what's the word you used?
Like High Council or like
the
monarchy.
leaders
Yeah.
get the heart of Lorcan and become like gods.
I see.
And they since I've never played Morrowind, I don't know like how oppressive that is, but the idea of the prophecy of the Nerevarine is the Nerevarine, is like the savior of the Dark Elves.
I see.
And the
They're Jesus, if
Nerevarine
you will.
is alive in Oblivion, and he's mentioned in a Radiant dialogue that they talk about. Random NPCs will be like, I heard the Nerevarine went to Akavir.
Yeah.
So we don't know what happens to the Nerevarine, but they went to Akavir. That's all you know post-game in Oblivion. And there's also one of the main characters from Morrowind, St. Jube. If you remember from Skyrim in the Soul Cairn, he dies in Kvatch during the Oblivion Crisis.
Oh, shit.
So he becomes known for killing a bunch of cliff racers, and he's a saint. I'm not exactly sure why they call him a saint or like where that comes from.
Yeah, like what?
But he dies during the Battle of Kvatch, and he's there. But like, and there is dialogue mentioning that like Saint Jube, again, Radiant dialogue. They're like, oh, like Saint Jube like perished in Kvatch like during the invasion. And that's pretty big information to like not be mentioned like kind of like
just out
in
of
your
face. Like
face.
that, yeah.
Because he's like a big character, but he retires to Kvatch and starts writing his like memoir.
Right.
And you meet him in Skyrim, and he's dead, but like that's what he was doing when he died. So pretty big details to just kind of be like, yeah.
Well,
like,
and I think that just comes from that's not the main portion of this story. It's really about what's
like,
happening now, but it's more
it's
lore
crazy
building.
that like all three games protagonists are like
technically happening
alive?
At the same time.
Yeah, could be alive.
I didn't even think about that.
But and then I put this in here. Skyrim takes place in the fourth era, about 200 years later.
Yeah. So
like it's really disconnected from the third era.
Yeah, even like they talk about the Oblivion Crisis here and there, of course, and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they'll move into the fourth era with 6, because I would guess that the dragons coming back would mark the end of the third era, because it's a major. That's how they do it, right? It's just a major event, and they're like, all right, we're in the new era now. There's not really like anything else behind that, because that's what marks the end of the third era. Yeah, the Oblivion Crisis. Yeah.
Yeah. Why does that end it? Like, so basically, like using that logic, it's like, okay, we don't know what the events of the game Skyrim are called. The Civil War and the dragons coming back. Will that event end the fourth era?
That's what
we don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're gonna know until Elder Scrolls 6.
Of course.
Again, name the crisis, and we're posting
Elder Scrolls 6 High Rock. I don't know. I'm just give me it, Gooch. Sorry.
Yeah. It's interesting that they didn't name the game Cyrodiil, but they named it Oblivion.
That's true.
Because all the games are named after
where they are.
Yeah, Arena. No. Yeah, no. Arena is everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. And then Daggerfall's obviously in Daggerfall. But that's all. Is that all just in Daggerfall?
I don't know.
I did start Daggerfall.
I mean,
in
Skyrim, you go to Morrowind. That's where Solstheim is in Morrowind.
Yeah, like an island of Morrowind. It is cool to see them bring that, like, as someone who never played Morrowind, and then to go back and see those designs within Morrowind to be, like, translated to modern day, well, modern-ish day with Skyrim was cool.
So as we open the game, we get our iconic monologue from Sir Patrick Stewart.
Sir Pat Stewart.
I was born 87 years ago. For 65 years, I've ruled as Tamriel's emperor. But for all these years, I've never been the ruler of my own dreams. Do you think this like monologue suddenly became iconic? Like I don't remember this like with the promo material for the remaster. I'm like now I'm hearing it like all the time.
No,
like,
it's
wow,
true.
Iconic.
I think just it being brought back into the zeitgeist, and yeah, Sir Pat Stew's fucking delivery, is fantastic. Yeah. Close shut the jaws. Sorry,
wait. Yeah, but for all these years, I've never been the ruler of my own dreams. I have seen the gates of Oblivion beyond which no waking eye may see. Behold, in the darkness, a doom sweeps the land. This is the 27th of the last seed, the year of Akatosh 433. These are the closing days of the third era and the final hours of my life. Reading that just gives me chills.
Amazing.
But it's just like, wow. It's like I as a kid, whatever. But like now it's like, wow. The picture, like the painting is like being painted by Mr. Stewart. Like
it's amazing. And then even I will say just having a modern look on him while he's giving that. And I like how, and they do kind of try to do it in the original, but like Martin and Uriel look a lot alike.
Yeah.
And you can see it a lot more in this. And I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah. Again, like that's a detail where I don't mind it.
Right,
being changed.
They're modernizing
I think Martin looks a lot like Sean Bean in the original.
For sure, and I do think he does look like the Emperor, but the Emperor looks shit. He just looks like a normal NPC, but with some weird like wrinkles.
All the NPCs are made in the
day. Yeah, so it makes sense.
So we start the game and we can kind of converse with, we make our character. It's weird because like you start out the game, you hear that cutscene, character creation.
Yeah,
like in Skyrim, like you kind of are sitting there for a little while. You're getting some expedition as your prison wagon moves into Helgen, and that who are you?
Who are you?
We just get right into the character customization. And you know, if you've played an Elder Scrolls game, it's the same stuff. It's not inherently interesting. We get to pick between Argonian, Breton, Dunmer, which are the Dark Elves, High Elves, which are the Altmer, the Imperials, Khajiits, Nords, Orcs, Redguards, and the Bosmer, aka the Wood Elves. But the default for the hero of Cyrodiil, the hero Kvatch, is Imperial. That's always how it is. It's like where you are is the default. The trio, what did you roll for this game?
What did I roll? Here, let me see. I'm a Dark Elf.
It's like you don't remember.
No, it's on. Well, I know.
I know. You have it
so I made I'm Otherion, a Dark Elf. I made a custom class, the Night Weaver, if you will, Gooch. Magic and stealth based. My main class attributes are alteration, destruction, restoration, acrobatics, marksman, security, and sneak. So I'm a little sneaky magic thief.
I mean, that's the trio way.
It is.
We both went our very stereotypical
our classic way. Yeah, I wanted to.
I basically
in archery I've been using.
Besides being like I was an Imperial the first time. I changed my class, but I was like I made a Crusader class like when I first played. So I kind of was like I got to redo it.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because it's like I wish I would like not do all the same stuff. Like in RPGs, I feel like sometimes you just default to like what
especially
like your what you like or like, you know, the aesthetic.
And I feel like you tend to change up the more you play them. Like, of course you're going back to this, but this is the first time you're playing this in this form. It's been a while.
I'm sure I'll replay on PlayStation and then that's where I'll maybe do sneak. But I played as a Breton. First time I've ever done that in an Elder Scrolls game. In Skyrim, I was a Khajiit of all things, which is pretty interesting. My name is Dante. Custom class Crusader. I have strength, intelligence, armory, blade, conjuration, destruction, heavy armor, mercantile, and restoration. And yes, I know there's a Crusader class, but I made my own.
So get over it.
Yeah. Trio, I want to tell you something. I've had enough of making ugly characters in games. My character, for some reason, I could not get him to look the way I wanted to. And sometimes I'm like, I should make him look kind of like Publian. He doesn't need to be super hot and like, you know, like main character energy. But like, I'm like, you know, like then I see like on TikTok, like people making like really nice looking people. I'm like, what the fuck?
Then there's also people just making the JD Vance memes and stuff like that. Like it's been,
you can make some monsters.
There's been some great memes. It's like, oh, I've seen your face in my waking dreams every night. And then it's just a fucking monstrosity.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier that they added like sub races and stuff, and I have them all here. I'm not going to go into them. It's not really necessary. But like every race has two. So for Dark Elf, Trio had the difference between Vardenfell and Mainland Morrowind.
Yeah.
Do you remember which one you picked?
I think I'm Vardenfell.
Okay,
I
so
could
you're a
be
true
wrong.
child of Vardenfell.
Yeah, I
Amongst the
believe so.
volcanic wasteland, you were taught that resilience is the greatest quality of a Dunmer.
Hi.
And for Breton, I picked, where is it? Sisteris, which as a child you were always spending time on the docks of one of the islands, gaining some money by helping merchants carry their goods and learning from their adventures.
Ooh.
Yeah, but I kind of like the flavor text. I think it just again makes your build a little bit more diverse, and some stuff makes intelligence go up, like that kind of.
I was gonna
thing.
say it does have effects, right? Of like some kind. Right?
Yeah, I mean, and every race has their stuff. And
Right,
we're not going
right.
to go into all of that exactly, but
It's still very similar to Skyrim, right?
Yeah.
The way of, like the elves are more magical focused.
Bretons-
dark elves are more stealth.
yeah, Bretons are more built for magic. But
Right.
again,
Orcs are your attack class. Of course,
you can kind of do whatever you
Absolutely.
want though. Like
Yeah.
it's the base, but with Oblivion, like we were talking about, you can kind of do whatever you want.
Right.
Because I think it kind of benefits you to kind of experiment and do everything and level everything up. Because like I did the Malakath Shrine last night and I got Vuldrun. And it's like, it's a special two-handed mace. And it only does 5 damage. And I'm
Because you are so low on your endurance. Yeah.
no, it's so low with blunt.
Right. Okay.
And I'm just like, I don't remember. Like,
well,
that
and I know
sucks.
endurance
Like, I don't
also contributes to that. When you up it, it ups the attack damage with all your weapons.
Okay,
too.
so mine's up, so it must be the blunt.
It must be
Because I'm like, that's so annoying.
and it's the same type of leveling system where you got to do it to level it up, as it is in Skyrim and all that stuff.
Which
yeah.
I'm fine with,
Yeah.
and I'm fine like you get special perks as you level up instead of like you putting points into perks.
right.
I like what Oblivion does better. There is some take and some there's some keep and some give with like both systems. I feel like you can easily kind of be like, I like this, but I don't like this. But I
Right.
like this in Skyrim. I don't like this in Oblivion. I like Oblivion, that kind of thing. New to the character customization in Oblivion is beards. I never noticed that nobody had a beard.
I actually didn't notice until you said something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, when I see people with a beard, I go, that doesn't look right.
It's not for me. They only look really
I
good
don't know
on
about
like
that.
your normal like human characters. They look kind of fine.
Yeah,
I do have a nice beard going on my guy. I gotta say.
Dude, I was like, one of the Bretons beard is like, what the fuck is that? It doesn't look great, but yeah, kind of interesting, right?
Right,
Like-
just
like
an
they-
update.
like no facial hair.
Wouldn't thought about it. You don't think about it until it's like
I
presented.
wonder why.
Probably because the guy designed it all in one day, and he's like, "I'm not putting hair on this. That's probably adds a whole nother stupid layer of something that I don't even understand.
Yeah.
Technicality.
We were talking about the class. I mean, there's differences between combat, magic, and stealth, and you can do custom, of course. So there's
Right.
pre-builts and, doing whatever you want. And then you get to pick your birth sign between apprentice, Atronach, lady, lover, ritual, serpent, shadow, steed, thief, warrior. I pick ritual.
I got Steed.
Yeah, so ritual, you get Mars Gift, was like a 200 healing spell. And then Blessing Ward, which can turn undead. I just kind of felt that went into the Crusader kind of vibe.
I just wanted carrying capacity.
So wait, which one did you pick?
Steed.
And what's that do?
I believe it gives you more carrying capacity. I like 50 or 100 or something like
So
that.
my carrying capacity with like a feather necklace, I'm up to 560.
Yeah, I'm around that too.
What a fucking problem I had at the
Well, it's
beginning of the
'cause
game.
this-
I'm like, why does the heavy fucking arena raiment weigh 72 pounds?
Right, and then
What
even like
fuck?
the swords, it's like 50 pounds for
Like,
a long sword.
I'm like, dude, what? So that's something again. I think like I would have appreciated like them going into it and rebalancing the weight because
Yeah.
it's fucking terrible.
Yeah, and I don't know if that goes down at all if you increase your like
If
proficiency
you're
and stuff.
wearing it, like the heavy armor thing, if you're wearing your heavy armor, like it decreases
doesn't,
when
yeah.
you're wearing it, but not when you're holding other stuff. Okay, so we get that dark elf who kind of makes comments to you based on your race. He kind of, you're going to die down here.
You dirty gut Dunmer, Phil. He said even if you're a Dunmer and he's dumber,
he's
yeah.
always very racist.
He's a little
to you.
snake. Yeah.
And you get to see him again.
I was gonna say you'll get back to it eventually.
Yeah. So Blades kind of walk down and they walk your septum down, and they need to get through your prison cell to where they're going. So they ask you to move back. He comes in, and Euroseptum goes, I've seen you. Let me see your face. You are the one from my dreams. Then the stars were right, and this is the day. Gods give me strength. He speaks much on destiny and this meeting and the end of his life. Like, he's very like prophetic in this moment, but like not crazy. You know, you never get the idea that like he's like out of his mind. Like he like clearly is like sane and clearly like really believes like what's going on, and he's not wrong.
He has faith in the gods.
Yeah, and he like he's seen this before. He's been through a lot, and like this is it.
Yeah.
So basically, through the whole tutorial, the assassination of Uriel Septim the 7th happens, and you do escape the Imperial prison. But, you know, the Blades are following you. They don't trust you. They're kind of keeping you at arm's length. They don't even want to equip you with a weapon.
Prisoner.
But the Emperor is like, nah, he's good, fam. He's one of us. He's one of us.
Look at that beautiful face. How could you not love it?
Yeah, so a group of Blades helps defend the Emperor and treat you with disdain. Again, tutorial level. There's really not much to say.
They kill the Emperor.
Right.
You walk out. Yeah. That's really. Yeah.
You get your dabble at all the weapons. You kill some rats, some
gives
goblins.
you all the mechanics, the basics.
Yeah, I think, you know, the tutorial zone is like effective. I think it like does like here's your bow,
very
here's
effective,
your mace.
Very short, to the point. I appreciate it greatly.
Yeah, it's like an hour, if that.
Not
I mean,
even,
if you know
I would
what
even
you're
say,
like,
yeah, especially if you know what you're doing.
And I knew what I was doing, but again, first time in a while, so I'm kind of going through it a little slow. You eventually get to a point. You know, these people in this armor are attacking you and robes, and you know we're not sure who these people are.
Right.
Yet, I mean, they're Mythic Dawn, but you know, in
at
game
this point
we don't know.
Yeah.
The Emperor eventually says to you, "I can go no further. You alone must stand against the Prince of Destruction and his mortal servants. He must not have the Amulet of Kings." He gives you the amulet and says, "Give it to Joffrey. He alone knows where to find my last son. Find him and close shut the jaws of Oblivion."
Thanks, Pat.
Again,
It's great.
don't remember this line at all.
I remember that
and then
pretty
suddenly
well.
it became iconic.
You're like, oh my god.
There was a new, and this is where the Emperor's killed. Before the Mythic Dawn comes in, hits him, and the Emperor like ragdolls away like anyone else.
He actually slices his throat.
Yeah,
right,
they made like a unique animation for it, which again, like I think I've seen enough where like the Emperor just will do some weird things like
or like fly around the room or something
when he dies. And then Boris will tell you have to make your way out of the sewer, deliver the amulet to Wayne and Priory. Like you say Joffrey, and he knows who that is.
Right.
And Wayne and Priory's outside of Coral, so you need to do that, escape. And at the end of the sewers, you get to confirm your character. So you do get a little bit of like a trial run with your stuff. I don't really necessarily know that that's like effective, but maybe if you had a second choice of like, oh, like, okay, I don't like this, or maybe I'll do this. You get an opportunity.
Again, I think it just does a good job of showing you every single major gameplay mechanic as far as like sneaking, using different weapons, trying out the bow, trying out different things. I think it accomplishes that.
So that's the end of Patrick Stewart. So let's talk about him. Yeah, I feel like Patrick Stewart is like putting on the best Broadway performance of his career as Uriel Septim. He doesn't have a lot of lines. He's not, like, this is it. That's it. He doesn't come back in a flashback.
It's true.
Like
short and sweet.
For such a small role, it's interesting that they went for such a big get.
No, again, like we said, I think it's just an amazing performance. Like he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to go that hard at all.
He did not
for 15 lines or whatever it was. Yeah, he killed it.
Yeah,
and he sets the tone. He sets the tone for the whole game.
Yeah. And we step out into Cyrodiil. We see that alien ruin across the way, that iconic stepping out moment. And this is where we're just going to talk about the game. What are the first few things you do before heading to Wayne on Priory? Because you know what, Trio? You probably didn't head to Wayne on Priory.
I actually did.
I was like, unless you did.
I hit like a few like, ruins and stuff, but like all along the way. But mostly I did go straight there. And then I just played all the way through to getting Joffrey up to to Cloud Ruler.
Wow. And all in your like first few sessions.
Yeah. Okay. And then after that, I went around and started doing a few other things like side quests. And, I started off with Dark Brotherhood. I'm pretty deep into that. I finished the arena. And I also finished Knights of the Nine. So those ones.
You did the Knights of the Nine already?
Yeah. That's it's not really that like big of a quest. It's really, especially compared to like the other ones.
I wish I would have known that.
And I kind of wanted to get the stuff out of that, that kind of stuff out of the way.
This is what makes the formatting of this podcast interesting, because like the Knights of the Nine is a pretty big thing, and I'm like kind of structuring.
Is it though?
I feel is it
really
is it not?
Like it's like a little like you go to like 3 dungeons and then you kill
So
the
wait,
guy.
you're running around with the Knights of the Nine armor?
No, I put it away. I wanted to use it and get that quest done, and now it's sitting at the priory.
Because it's so okay. Because like I feel like that's end game armor. You know, it's so cool looking.
No, it is cool, but
so you're wait, you're not heavy.
no, I'm not heavy. But it gives you light armor. If you do, it makes it light. And no, it was very cool to go through all the different, like, learn about the gods and stuff like that. But I don't know, I don't think it was anywhere near as, like, impactful as, like, as I remember, what's it called being? The other one, Shivering Isles.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Shivering Isles
it's also a whole new area.
It's an expansion. Yeah. Like, it's definitely what it is. And, like, yeah, but, like, you know, I always thought the Knights of the Nine was kind of like this big quest line. But, like, you're probably right, because I finished the arena as well. When I first played the game, it was like one of the first things I did. It wasn't the first thing I did, but I kind of did it all in between going to Kvatch and bringing Joffrey to Cloud Ruler. I did it all. So within like a few sessions. And I remember the arena being so much more than just like talk to Owen, do a fight.
Talk to Owen, do a fight.
Yeah, like
back and forth.
And there's really only one quest that kind of expands upon the arena, which is the Grey Prince quest.
Where you find his origins.
I assume you did that before you killed him.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and you find out his origins, and he's like half a vampire. It's nothing crazy, but it kind of reminds you of like, wow, the arena is like not really a whole lot here.
Well, I think the Fighters Guild is the fighting, like the real kind of fighters quest line, whereas that's just more of like an event type thing.
Did you know there were supposed to be more arena? I mean, this fun fact, but I just knew this. There was an arena in Kvatch. They talk about it.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And you were like, it was eventually planned that Kvatch would get rebuilt and you would eventually go fight in that arena.
Interesting.
And also every town had an arena at one point.
Huh.
So whatever the arena was supposed to be was more than what we get in game.
Right.
So maybe that has something to do with why, like maybe they were supposed to be like
more to
like think about it. How would it be in Skyrim? Like there's no quests or plot or narrative around the arena. You are just fighting.
Right.
You fight, and it's a good way to make money early game. I don't know why you would leave the arena for late game, because you eventually, like, once you get to 15 and 20, like, you get better drops. Like, selling that shit is really lucrative.
It is.
So at some point, like, the arena just seems kind of silly. Like, you're just getting pennies on the dollar.
No, it does feel like kind of earlier game, like build up some of your fighting levels and all that stuff.
Yeah, you're just fighting, getting used to mechanics. The fights themselves aren't that crazy. Like, they're not mechanically interesting. So I did find the arena, returning to it, like, a bit underwhelming.
It's what I remember it being, I guess, in that way. Because, again, I think the Fighters Guild is that more fighter-oriented quest line.
What's your code?
I
was like, regardless of saying it.
No, I was literally like trying to think. I'm not looking, I guess, for much more out of it than that for the arena.
Yeah,
but I get what you're saying. It would be nice to have a bit more of a story to it.
Yeah, like again, like, you know, like they do have the Grey Prince, and he does have a background, but it's not a whole bunch. And like there are some people down there, and it's like, what if you kind of like built this rivalry up with other people down there, or like they kind of interrupted the arena and like you had to go do something or take care of something, and that played back into the fights. Like they're
just give it a little more. Yeah,
and it's not that I'm critiquing, the arena could have been more. I'm more kind of critiquing that the arena could have been like if you were remaking it, there's a lot of opportunities to make it better.
For sure.
Like I think the other guilds don't have that problem.
For the most part, no.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's really just the arena.
I actually think almost every single guild has a very memorable quest in this.
The Thieves Guild was the one that I remembered not liking, and I think that the Thieves Guild in a Skyrim is the only guild better than Oblivion stuff.
I agree. Yeah, I would agree. That definitely felt like the favorite child of that game, for sure.
And that might be, again, my bias of the Thieves Guild was the last thing I did.
Yeah.
So, like,
I remember Fighters Guild being my least favorite.
I remember really liking the
Fighters Guild. It was my, like, last ones that I got, too. Those were, like, the last set of... Because I always ignored it. Because I was like, I don't care about the Fighters Guild. Because I was always...
the Fighters Guild, man.
And genuinely, I think the fighting was the weakest part of this game, so I never really wanted to interact with that much. But once I finally did get around with it, I enjoyed it a lot. But yeah, Dark Brotherhood's my favorite storyline by far in this. I think that's not a crazy opinion. I think that's a lot of people's opinion on this game. It's interesting how they set up the different like chapters in this, and you know the way Lucien Lachance even first talks to you, like when you kill someone and he just shows up in your fucking bedroom.
So it's pretty funny. I don't remember how. I don't think I got Lucien Lachance to come until I wanted him to come.
Right.
I remember
you didn't kill like an
I have
innocent.
a lot of memories. So again, early 360, where I was talking in a private chat to Fred, who's been on our show before, and you know, is a storied member of the Discord at this point.
Yeah.
And you know, we would talk back and forth. So Fred was telling me, like how to do this, how to do that, and another guy we met playing Halo. His name is Jake. Shout out to Jacob Hoofman, who I'm sure I'll let know I mention him in this. The three of us were just like, you know, like, oh, did you find this? And like this kind of cool thing. So like the three of us were going back and forth. But I think Fred probably told me how to discover the Dark Brotherhood, because I was like, when I started it, like I don't remember who I killed. But in this, I was in a fort and there's some random friendly adventurer that
I've had that happen before.
I saw him, I fucking cut him down. Yeah. And it was like, someone noticed that. I was like, wait.
What happened?
Shouldn't he have attacked me?
Yeah, he was a bad guy. I found one in an Aelid ruin too.
Are they friendly?
Yeah, they don't attack you. He's just an adventurer in there.
I came up on this fucking guy and I just
Well, dude, I did the same thing. I think I killed the guy, but I loaded a save and then I realized he was friendly. That's so funny.
See, I didn't like. I was just like, oh,
yeah,
all right, yeah. And then so I have the Dark Brotherhood, the first quest queued, but I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, and I started the Thieves Guild, but I'm like barely into it.
You know, I didn't. You know why I started the Thieves Guild? To get the fence.
Right. Yeah.
It's
you need
so annoying not being able to sell stolen things. And I really haven't sold any stolen things, but I'm like, oh, I have shit I need to sell. I'm like,
oh, I can't sell
it.
Yeah.
That
was me too. That was the reason I did it.
That seems like, again, now in this point in time, it seems like was Skyrim like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Really?
Yeah, you can't sell stolen items to like, you can get a perk that allows you to after a while, but you can't sell stolen items to like reputable people in Skyrim.
I don't remember it being like this roadblock where I was like, I guess I'll start the Thieves Guild to unlock the dude in Bruma, because I'm going to be going up to Bruma and then I can sell him.
And that's the only one you can sell to at first too. You can't sell to the other fences until you get higher in the guild.
Yeah, I don't know why that seemed to be like a weird roadblock that I'm like, I need to unlock this, and then I didn't unlock it until literally post game when I first played it. Like I clearly wasn't stealing all that much. Or not going out of my way, and I'm not really doing that either. But I guess you find yourself in people's houses, and
definitely
you're just picking shit up as you go.
Bing bang boom.
One of the first things I noticed. So when I came out, I did some dungeons, and I went to Cheydinhall to like sell things off, but I didn't do anything there. I just went there to sell things, and then I went to Wayne and Priory. But it was really in the tutorial where I noticed that like the new pickup animation for herbs, which is kind of like cartoony.
Yeah,
like the item just kind of like distorts really weird and like goes up.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
It didn't really even stand out to me, honestly. Okay. I think it's very much more modern, which I kind of appreciate. It used to just disappear, right? I assume when you picked it up.
Yeah, I think that's how it does it in Skyrim. Yeah, it just is like gone. Yeah.
Immersion.
And that's really where I noticed like that point about the dungeons earlier when I was going through things. I'm like, all right, I'm like kind of getting tired of like just dungeon crawling here. Like, all right, I'm gonna like I need to sell. I like no fucking carry weight. My fucking sword weighs 40 pounds.
Yeah, it wears a quarter of your weight
for some reason. But I don't remember that in Oblivion, like that weight being a problem. But
yeah, I remember
again,
dealing with it.
First Elder Scrolls game, so I didn't have this want to pick everything up.
Well, and I think they also do a good job of giving you so many different items that can like alter your weight, and even just being able to up your strength on every level, you can easily kind of
remedy
fix it.
That. Yeah,
and even I love that there's a feather. There's a lot of spells that exist in this game that I hope they bring back in 6, like especially when it comes to like lock picking stuff and a lot of illusion. Their mysticism.
Skyrim spells are such more bastardized
compared. I think they've improved them a lot more. Like as the game with the current updates and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I would love to see like the mysticism school come back, and like there's a few things that are just completely omitted in Skyrim that I would love to see them bring back. Like it is nice that you can learn, and we talked about this in our Skyrim like review.
I'm gonna
call it.
rewatch that at some point.
We were talking about like how
during this
you don't really necessarily need to have a lockpick skill in this. You can get your alteration up, and you can get
do it with magic.
Yeah, and you can do it with magic, and that's a nice way to get around that. And I wish there is more like that.
A lot of role playing, a lot of flavor,
Yeah.
which again, I think that's again one of the worst parts of Skyrim, that Skyrim takes away that role play action to
Right.
like, oh, I don't need to be a thief at all. I can use magic to
Right.
unlock stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really exactly what you're saying. Kind of going to your notes, I'm just kind of filling in my stuff before I got to weighing in. I noticed the new dog models in Shadenhall with the girl who has the dogs.
Right.
I thought that was like interesting that they made like multiple. I noticed that the items fall off the shelves in shops just like they do in the original. Like, again, something I think like easily could have fixed, but like chose to not, because again, like going into these locations and hearing the items go, you know, and like they're falling off the shelves, and like that's
part of it.
Charm.
Well, and
it wouldn't happen in a remake.
Well, they want you
keep
to
that.
experience, and they were saying this when they announced it. They want you to experience this as it was experienced the first time it came out, but they want to make it more accessible in the way of how it looks and just how, you know, modern sensibilities in that respect. And I think it works.
Did you have you gone to like Battlehorn or Frostcrag Spire?
I have Frostcrag.
Or there's one.
Yeah,
other
I went to the Thief one too, which is Darkhorn Keep. I didn't even know that existed. I've never been there before.
Yeah, I knew that existed. Kind of forgot about it, to be quite honest.
The Frostcrag Spires glitched for me though, because I bought everything and it still is showing up in my quest log. Which is annoying.
Worst.
Yeah.
So I went to Battlehorn, and Fred again was talking in the Discord, and he mentioned like, oh, like, did you find the secret area there? And I was like, no.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever knew.
You never
about
knew
this.
that was there.
And
Yeah.
I like, again.
There's like secret passages there too.
Yeah,
and, stuff.
and like you find out like the story and like who these people are and like what happened here. I think it's a really good like flavor and like detail. But like, again, it's not like a fully fleshed out kind of thing. All this stuff is really happening within notes and just enemies that appear.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it all kind of makes sense. Cool little secrets, but
And those were DLCs. Those weren't in the original game.
no, they are in the original game.
But not like from the beginning. I'm saying like
Yes,
those were DLCs for
Yeah. So they were added post. So it's not like they have new dialogue or you know, like it's like, okay, a new player home, but like there's nothing new around it.
Right,
like
right.
we're doing this post game. We're not getting the actors back to re-record.
Exactly.
So they're not doing anything with actors. So yeah, I don't really love that. In terms of like, I don't like the addition of like player houses, because I feel like it kind of I easily like
there
while I
weren't
was
player
in
houses in
Shadenhall-
the really? There weren't player houses in the original?
No, there are
Oh,
in the
gotcha.
towns, but it
Oh,
feels
oh, oh.
like I can exit I can exit the sewers and very easily just go up to Battlehorn and just obtain it.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I feel like it's kind of like you're like, it's like, why can I just get this? Like, it doesn't like lock it behind certain
like
points.
a certain level or anything.
Yeah,
like
I
other
just
things
walk
do.
up to it, I kill the people in there, it's mine, and then the only progress block is like the money to upgrade the things.
Right. No,
and
that's
like
a good
you can
point.
make like trophies there, but I'm like,
You're surprised there isn't a threshold of every time.
Where's my forever home in Cyrodiil? It's
Yeah.
not Battlehorn Castle.
That's fair.
It's not Battlehorn.
I think mine is Frostcrag. I
Yeah,
have everything in there.
I think
yeah.
I might go there again because I don't really remember what it looks like, but unfortunately, like, it's not like you can like deck your house out like you can in Skyrim. Like, there's
of
no
course.
mannequins, you can't display your weapons. So like all the unique items, kind of like what would essentially be a no-brainer in a modern day Bethesda game or a modern day RPG, like displaying your stuff you got on travels is like not really a thing.
Yeah, there's like some display cases, if I remember correctly, in Battlehorn,
That
but
you
like you
place
have to
items
place
in
things
and then
yourself.
they glitch out.
Yeah, so yeah, that's something they definitely focused on majorly as an update, especially in Skyrim. I'm very curious to see what they do in the future. I mean, even look at Fallout 4 with that. That's one of my favorite systems in that. I mean, the settlement building's annoying, but I do love being able to create my own home, my specific own home. I wish it didn't look like it was from a dumpster, but it's still cool that it's mine.
I feel like they're going to carry that system over from 76 into Elder Scrolls 6.
I totally agree. I think you're going to be able to build a castle from like. I mean, dude, it was the inception of it was Skyrim.
Hearthstone.
Yeah, with Hearthstone. So
Yeah, it feels like it would be silly. Like, I feel like I shouldn't even be able to buy a house. Like, just let me make it and kind of do that. I mean, you can't really buy houses in Fallout 4, can you? It's just settlements.
I think there are.
Because, like, you can buy houses in Fallout 3.
I think you can get a house in Diamond City, and I think you can get a house in
Good Neighbor.
Good Neighbor. I might be wrong, but I think you can.
I did. So here's some weird things I noticed. We talked about the map, but there's no shadow in first person.
Right, that is interesting.
But
yeah.
you go third person, there is. What do you think about the local map change? That threw me off, and I'm like, they got rid of local maps. So like, the first few dungeons I went through, I'm like, I don't know if I like finish this.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna leave.
You know they are in there, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
you have to zoom all the way in.
I just didn't. It's more of just they just changed how you access them, and that's what confused me at first. And when they weren't in there, when I thought they weren't in there, I was like, that seems there's no way. I was like, I must be missing something.
Yeah, it seemed
like that seems like a really major omission, and it was there. You just have to. It's when you zoom in on your map. There's like an extra zoom thing that you have to press again.
Yeah, I just think like getting rid of like the tab or however it was in Oblivion, or like pressing X. Like I don't know why they did that.
Yeah, I think it's just a modernization, and I think that they honestly, personally, I think they perfectly modernized the menus for the most part. I think the actual like settings menu is a little too modern. But when it comes to like when you're like flipping through the tabs and stuff, that's exactly what I was expecting. Like that's,
you know what sucks about the menus? The spells are all over the place.
Oh, I know.
Oh
yeah.
my god.
Well, dude, even the organization of your stuff is like your miscellaneous. You have all the keys and the.
Oh
yeah,
my god.
It's a nightmare. It's very much
the trappings of the past trio.
Yeah.
It's like this is where you're like, oh my god, Skyrim with its like not that Skyrim's menu is the best, but like the books tab and the keychain, like everything's in there.
Yeah.
It's like this is a fucking mess.
It separates the things you need to.
Yeah. Oh my god.
It's tough.
Yeah, so this is where, like, if this was a remake, that menu would not look like that.
No.
You know, like, that's where it's like, if you think this is a remake, you're wrong. Sorry, you're wrong. You're wrong.
You're right from a visual perspective. Yeah, they remade every single thing visually, but gameplay-wise, this is the same game.
One of the worst things I really hate with the visuals is, like, the walking and running animations look horrible.
I don't mind the walking ones. The running one looks
Some
a little
people
silly,
are,
but
I'm like,
they're hunched.
I'm gonna get up and they're just like.
Well, but that's because that's how they were.
I don't remember
in the first one. They were always that's how they walk. They're like they have a little hunch. Yeah, dude, go look at old videos of NPCs. They are grafted onto their like character model.
Yeah, like it just looks ridiculous.
I know.
Like it looks like they're devious.
They're always like leaned over a little bit and hunched and no.
I'm watching myself on the video. Now walk. Like, but yeah, I was like, and then the run animation looks like you're the fucking Flash.
Yeah, you're just
like, I'm like, this looks and there was no sprint.
By the way, that also feels like a joke. That's over the top on purpose for sure. Like they're like, this looks funny. Yeah, like we're keeping this in.
Right. It does it kind of fit with the charm? Maybe.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing I noticed, dude, the Khajiit and the Argonians look top dollar.
Some of the Khajiits look weird. They have like really small heads. It doesn't look like it lines up.
I think it's in the mouth.
And they look very liney, but I think the Argonians do look awesome.
Yeah, because like even in Skyrim, I mean the character customization everyone looks ugly.
Yeah, I think it has a specific type of look for sure.
Yeah, but like when I was playing it a few years ago, and I'm like, dude, like my guy looks like a fucking mess.
I think the Argonians and like the Khajiit look pretty good in that. And I think the character models definitely have a specific look. The human character models especially have a specific look to them.
Yeah, a dinginess.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to bring up? Not that I'm done. I just want to make sure.
No. That's kind of all my notes, at least on this kind of first session for the like gameplay stuff.
Yeah, I mean the only thing I have a few more. I noticed what stood out. We talked about the arena, the voice acting for Owen, like how hard that Red Guard actor went for him specifically. Like of just like
stands out. Yeah.
The lines were just like kind of zany and crazy, and he's like putting you down. He's like, get in, like
right.
Like he seems like he had really fun with that performance.
Definitely.
The Imperial City statues are much more defined.
I mean, everything is.
And I wish I could I'm like, who is this?
Right.
Like,
you might be able to look it up in the lore somewhere.
Oh yeah, you can.
Sure, yeah.
Like one is Talos. Like and it's like there's like half dragon.
And it very much looks. But I'm like,
who is this in game? I don't know. Like
I loved all the design for the stained glass windows on each of the churches. They look fantastic of all the different gods.
The Unfriendly Competition quest, which is the one with Glathier when he's getting his goods from somebody who is grave robbing. In my first playthrough, this is the when you go into the grave to like take them down and like stop them.
Right.
His guard, that one guy's guard, has dwarven armor. That was the first place I found dwarven armor when I first played the game, and it was the first place I found dwarven armor.
I still remember trying to find glass armor and stuff, and being like, "Where is it?" And because I could never get to like level 10, I had no idea what I was doing, and then finally I figured it out. I'm like, "Oh, I need to be level 10. What's going on?"
I remember being in the Fighters Guild, picking a lock on a very hard lock that had a glass sword in it,
and it was a replica. Yeah.
Oh my god.
The worst.
Yeah, dude. I was
The
like,
worst.
like. I spent probably like an hour trying to pick
How do you feel about
lock.
the lock picking?
It's great.
I think it's very much of the time. I'm glad they didn't change it.
I think it needs to come back.
I would love to see something akin to it.
I'm sure it'll be different in Elder Scrolls 6, but like, I think this is the better system. Is it more difficult? Yeah, but I think it's fun.
Well, and I also think the problem is there's maybe not a method. Like, I think I get it most of the time. Like when it's rising very slowly, that's when you should be hitting it. But sometimes there is a bit of no method to the madness. I feel like I'm almost getting lucky sometimes, but once you get the skeleton key, I mean, it's over. It doesn't even matter. That's one of the quests I finished already. So
which one?
The skeleton key for Nocturnal.
Right.
So
yeah.
once you
can
get
that
you
before, because you need it for the no. I'm thinking of Skyrim. You don't need it for the
no. That's just your reward for doing her quest in this.
See, like getting
that kind of breaks. Getting that early. I didn't get. I'm level 17 and I got it. So I was like, yeah, I'm done with lockpicking. That's fine. I'll get the new one, or I'll get the
because in Skyrim, like you have to get it for the Thieves Guild and then you lose it.
You'll eventually give it back. Yeah.
And maybe it could be the artifact you give Martin.
Well, yeah, it's true. And also, I mean, you know, in that you can hold on to it as long as you want. You just can't progress the quest in Skyrim. You can hang on to the skeleton key as long as you want. But
yeah, and it's so again, fun fact that I just know, that original lockpicking minigame was made in Flash.
Interesting.
In the original. So I think they had to remake it from the ground up because of that.
That makes sense.
Which is why it's a little different.
Yeah.
I remember you were pointing out on Discord, like, hey, like the lockpicking, it's the same, but like it feels
it feels a tiny bit. I actually would say it feels remarkably similar. I think that's what I was saying more than anything. It still feels like the Oblivion.
No, I think we were talking about like getting the lock up and that button press felt a little different.
Yeah, it's definitely different than anything we see nowadays. Everything has kind of taken over that, like, you know, you turn it and you turn the lock thing. I feel like that's very standard now.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Starfield did a pretty different method.
Yeah.
That ended up being like, I don't know if this is like better.
It's different. I liked it. It's fun. By the end, though, you do, like, once you're doing it, like, 6 times within a base, I'm kind of like, I don't even know if I feel like unlocking this lock right now. Because it's just so... And it is a bit more involved, like, intellectually.
A few more notes here. Did you do the Order of the Virtuous Blood quest?
Yes.
And, yeah. I don't remember, like, that faction appearing in that menu.
I don't either.
Before, but, like, a really good way to get money early in game. Because, like, you sell the vampire dust after you finish the quest. I really like the quest in general.
I do too.
Like, it's pretty fun. Like, Skyrim just doesn't have quests like Oblivion does. They seem like very plebeian and kind of... They seem high fantasy. There's something about them.
And I do think that they maybe paid attention to a lot more. Like, I think those quests do exist in Skyrim, but maybe not as heavily.
Because we're getting so many Radiant quests.
Right.
And like you know, the quests you do for like some of the leaders of like the towns to get like their special weapon, and the special weapon is just like an iron axe that's called like the axe of like Falkreath. And
right.
It's like,
yeah.
What
like,
the
thanks.
fuck?
I'm gonna sell this down the road.
Thanks or nothing. Yeah. Whereas like the one quest you get Chillrend when you help the sons like get the farm in Coral, like you get Chillrend, and it's a unique variant of the glass sword, and it's like it feels a little bit more special.
Sure. Chillrend is in Skyrim though. It's basically the same thing. It's just a blue.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing. A blue.
Blue
glass sword.
Yeah, instead of the green. So yeah, I like that Order of the Virtuous Blood quest. I noticed some like, I don't even remember. Oh, I think it was like a cave called Sideways Cave that had like lore to it, which I thought stand out. I noticed the giant crab in Greenmead Cave. Well, things I just didn't remember. While I was doing Imperial Corruption, Adina, did you do that one where you like...
Yeah, I got him.
Adina Ventius came in while I was exiting Wayne on Priory after you get Martin. So like the Mythic Dawn attack, and then he comes in, he comes right into Wayne on Priory, and he gets just murked.
Amazing.
I was just like the timing of that. And one thing I noticed, which I don't think you did, once you leave Kvatch and you have Martin and Joffrey around with you, people who are Mythic Dawn will attack you on sight.
Oh,
so I went to
interesting.
Coral, and a guy named Ogle Belit attacked us.
Interesting.
Just in the town. And,
Yeah.
and I picked up his key to his house. I went to his house, and he has Mythic Dawn stuff in his house.
That's cool.
He's clearly like communing with them. He had what's the, not the Mysterium Xarxes, the Mythic Commentaries. Yeah, so I have 2 of them. I have the first volume and the second volume from killing people that attacked us, like,
That's
while
cool.
I had them.
Yeah.
But like I'm like, I don't remember that.
I don't remember that at all because I probably would go just straight to Cloud Ruler.
And I originally did that. I came out on my first playthrough, I looked at my achievements, and I went right to Kvatch. And Kvatch scale, we'll talk about it, but it scales with your level a little bit. So like you'll see like the higher level Daedra if you're higher level. Like I think if you first go there, it's just scamps and clan fears. But like for me, it was like the
Actual
Daedra
yeah.
and the other things. Leg.
Yeah, just my butt. It's falling asleep.
Yeah, it's been a longer day of recording, but yeah. I want to go to Aenon now. And we arrive at the humble priory to find Aranor, who takes care of the sheep and the horses, and he kind of tells you, hey, like he I guess he's a blade or like a lower ranking blade, because he kind of seems to know that the people here are blades.
Yeah.
And they're like hiding out. The other monks besides Joffrey reside here, all members of the Blades. So you go to Joffrey, you find him, you tell him what has transpired, and you hand him the Amulet of Kings.
He handed this to you? The Amulet of Kings? What the fuck? Like, I'd be like, why did he give this to you? Why did you play? Like,
well, that's exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he's like, what
shocked.
the fuck? Yeah.
And then he kind of has some dialogue, but like he mentions the Prince of Destruction. You can ask him who that is. Mehrunes Dagon, the Prince of Destruction. He referred to the Prince of Destruction. He referred to is none other than Mehrunes Dagon, one of the lords of the demonic world of Oblivion. The Emperor's words close shut the jaws of Oblivion. You talk about that. He certainly suggests that he perceived some sort of threat from Oblivion, but all the scholars agree that the mortal world is protected from the Daedra of Oblivion by the magical barrier. So, Uriel Septim dying is what causes the Oblivion Gates to now appear. The dragon fires are dead.
It's what allows them to open, I guess, more than
Yes.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Him dying doesn't necessarily cause them, but him not being alive allows them to be opened.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
and
the
not
dragon
having
fires
an heir
thing.
sitting on the throne, right?
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's a huge part of like why this happened. So if you're just curious, so you tell him the Emperor asked me to find his son, and he knows about this son. He's like, I am one of the few who knows of his existence. Many years ago, I served Captain Uriel's bodyguards, the Blades. One night, Uriel called me into his private chambers. A baby boy lay sleeping in a basket. Uriel told me to deliver him somewhere safe. He never told me anything about the baby, but I knew it was his son. From time to time, he would ask about the child's progress. Now it seems that this illegitimate son is the heir to the Septim throne, if he yet lives. So he doesn't know about him. He knows he exists, but they're not keeping tabs on him. His name is Martin. He serves...
Well, I think he seems to be somewhat keeping
You know
tabs
what's
on him.
funny? Him saying that, and then his next line kind of contradicts that point. His name is Martin. He serves Akatosh in the chapel in the city of Kvatch, south of here. You must go to Kvatch and find him at once. If the enemy is aware of his existence, as seems likely, he's in terrible danger. And please let me know if there's anything you need. My resources are limited, but I will be willing to help. Everyone offers assistance. Mabril gives you the horse, which was the horse I still have. Pioneer gives you a block skill book. Aranor gives you a repair hammer, and Joffrey a chest which holds a variety of light and heavy armor, weapons, potions, and scrolls.
I don't think I ever knew that was there before.
Yeah, you have to go back and
you have to ask him too. You're like, do you have anything for me to help? And he's like, yeah, check that chest over there. Very much a Bethesda classic.
So we'll head over to Kvatch, and the only reason is Kvatch is attacked is because Martin is there. I don't really necessarily like they say that, but I don't know if it's necessarily like obvious.
Well, I think my guess is as my interpretation was that they know his heir is there. They don't know who he is. So they're just going to destroy.
They don't kill him.
Right. Yeah. They don't know he's in the church. They don't know who he is. They know he's somewhere in Kvatch. We're going to just go blow up Kvatch.
So I'm curious who knows, Mankar Cameron or Dagon.
Yeah.
Like, you don't... I'm curious if we'll figure this out once we get to like when you see Mancar Camera for the first time in that cave. Yeah, like who is pulling the strings here? Like who knows this information?
I'm actually excited to play more the camp, like the actual story.
Because you're not a kid and like
and I can actually absorb it a bit more.
Yeah, like an adult.
I remember all the broad strokes of the main campaign.
Yes,
but yeah, for sure, it's just these. I remember
Mancar Cameron talks a lot in the Paradise level.
Right,
like,
you see,
what is all that?
Yeah,
I'm definitely gonna read the Mythic Commentaries and the Mysterium Xarxes. Like, I haven't been reading a lot of books. Like, dude, some are 27 pages long.
Some are only like 4 though too. It's
I know.
Weird.
It's like, oh, okay, I'll read this, but it's like,
I read the one on the provinces too, which is interesting. Yeah, good stuff.
So we are going to find the heir, and fortunately, as we approach Kvatch, it is getting attacked.
Under siege.
Hartle warns you that the city is overrun by Daedra, the prior knight, and a few guards are fighting back the creatures pouring out from an Oblivion gate in front of the city. Martin is apparently at the Chapel of Akatosh inside the city and points us towards Salvian Matthias. Going further along the road, we find a makeshift camp with the survivors. One of the quests, A Wound in Time, one of the armor quests starts there from like a new NPC. I'm curious if he's there for you. It's like a priest.
I don't think
he's
so.
like on the outskirts, and I'm like, who is this guy?
I don't remember it.
Yeah. So you must have to have the DLC to activate it. But speaking of that quest, it's like you find this NPC. He has some weird dialogue. He like tells you to go to an alien ruin. It's locked. You go back to the alien ruin. He's like, oh, I'm one of the Order of the Hour. And then he like lets you go in. You go to the alien ruin. You like kill like the lich that's in there, and you go back and you get it activated. Like it feels like creation.
I don't remember liches in this, by the way, at all.
Yeah,
I don't know if I ever like really encountered them.
Yeah,
I'm like, are they?
I didn't either.
Yeah, I did not know they exist because I saw like people were posting like comparisons of like enemy types, which was really cool. Actually, like it'll be like a swipe of like Oblivion versus the Remaster, and the lich came up. I was like, oh, I don't remember this enemy at all.
There is a lot dragon priests and Draugr.
I will give them a point here. There's definitely more enemy variety in this than I remember, especially even compared to like Skyrim. It just feels like there's a lot
Draugr site after Draugr site.
Like even the Atronachs look really good. The fire one's got that ass, of course. And then the like lizard thing.
Daedra.
That's cool. Really cool. I didn't remember that at all.
Huge alligator.
It's a huge lizard.
Yeah,
man.
I don't think I remember the spider Daedra.
I don't really either.
Yeah. They're the Minotaurs, the ogres.
Right.
I mean, obviously there's trolls, but yeah, you're right. I think the enemy variety is a bit bigger, a
bit more abundant
in Skyrim. Venturing to the top of the hill, we find Matthias and his remaining forces. He's the ranking officer left, and he says if you help close the Oblivion Gate, we'll help you get into the city to find Martin. So this is our first Oblivion Gate that we enter.
This was actually my second. I'd closed one before I got to this one.
Really?
Yeah. It's just funny.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, they're already around the map, apparently. So
really?
Yeah.
I thought going there activates
all of them. No.
Did you like go there and leave?
No.
Because there are a few Oblivion gates around Battlesworn, and they weren't there.
So one, I had that happen where I like got to the marker and it wasn't there. I don't know if that was a glitch though. But that was only one of them. And then other than that, because I got it, it was down near like, where was it? I'd have to look on my map. But yeah, no, I did one before that main one. I definitely did.
Yeah, I've been to like I went through Skingrad a little bit and did that like on my way to Kvatch and did some quests, and I went to Coral and did stuff, but I haven't been to Anvil. I haven't been to Bruma really, or Breville or Leowin. There's a lot I really haven't seen. I'm kind of like stuck within that like Gold Coast Imperial City, like right above it to the right of it. Like I really haven't like gone that out of my way yet because I'm like,
I've definitely been skipping around a good bit. Yeah, for sure.
Did you like immediately fast travel to these cities? And
some of them I did, some of them I walked. You know, I do think it's an interesting point of like design in this that they do just have them all unlocked from the beginning. But yeah, I don't
know. So yeah, what is Oblivion? It's a plane of existence beyond Mundus that is inhabited by the Daedra and ruled by Mage Dagon. It's hell. There's not a ton of like lore on Oblivion that isn't just like it's hell.
Well, aren't all? Yeah, it's like the classical looking version, like their hell, because like all of them have their own planes, like obviously, but his looks the most akin to like our thought of hell. Like,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And Mehrunes Dagon kind of looks like a devil.
Absolutely.
Figure.
Yeah.
Almost all known planes of Oblivion are ruled over by one of the Daedric princes, and the plane takes a form reflective of its prince's personality. The native inhabitants of these planes are collectively referred to as Daedra, and are often created at the whim of the prince who created the plane. So every plane has its own set of Daedra. So everything we're seeing is a Daedra from Oblivion. And again, like Daedra can mean the clan fear, it can mean the scamps, like it's like it's
something that originates from a plane of Oblivion.
Yeah, exactly. And it could be anything. So any Daedra are not really mortal in the traditional sense. If they're killed, especially on the mortal plane, their innate spark of life, what often is sometimes referred to as an animus, returns to a new body. So this shit doesn't, it just like goes back and comes
And finds
back.
another
Yeah. Dremora are the humanoid Daedra who serve Dagon, and Dremora are one of the more rare species of Daedra, which are not only sentient but capable of human speech. So, yeah.
Right.
And we encounter them in Oblivion and Skyrim, and they, like, besides in Paradise, you don't really like talk to them all that much.
Yeah.
And they don't really have a big role in Skyrim.
I'll say something. Wow.
Yeah.
They all sound very weird.
Yeah, dude, they look so ugly in the original.
They do.
So ugly. So, anything to say on Oblivion Gates? I mean, we go through a lot of these in game. The first one has like, there's some people in there fighting, and you get to bring them back.
I like getting the sigil stones and stuff. I think that they have some good variety, and they add an extra dungeon layer to it. I like them a lot.
Like
but I don't think they blow me away.
It's kind of worth going through an Oblivion Gate, right? There are like a lot of juicy.
And by the way, you can skip so much of them if you really want to. You can just
you can just run past.
Yeah,
them.
you can just, or you can like. You can swim through the lava if you really need to for like, you will die eventually, but you can quickly get across
if
things.
you have like resistances.
Even not, maybe, I guess so. But like, I mean, you can skip 90% of an Oblivion Gate and just run right to the tower for most of the time. There are some that you have to go into like other towers and then like hit mechanisms and unlock. I think there's some good variety. I did start running into some repeats here and there.
I've only been through maybe like 3 or 4.
I think I've closed like 4 or 5 so far.
They haven't gotten old for me yet, but again, I think like the caves, like
after a while, you will start hitting some
being
repeats.
Like, all right, like I've had my fill of Oblivion Gates.
Well, and you start to know them. You're like, oh, I know the setup of this one. I just have to go here. I'll go around, blah, blah, blah. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'll get my sigil stone.
Yeah, and after we close the Oblivion Gate, we begin the Siege of Kvatch. Again, like I said, that first Oblivion Gate is a tad unique compared to most.
Definitely, yeah.
But not really different. I think there are some other quests with like Oblivion Gates, like the Count of Cheydinhall's son, I think, gets wrapped up in going to an Oblivion Gate.
Right,
so like that one's
yeah.
unique, but like they're not all like that. Once the gate is closed, a counterattack is launched to retake the chapel and evacuate the remaining citizens. We talked about St. Jube already. And then we'll enter the chapel. Matthias will order Tierra to lead the civilians out of the city. You can speak to Martin here at the camp.
I spoke to him there.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't know you could like wait until he's done, because he'll follow you once you talk to him. So you'll talk to Martin here, and we both did, so that's good. Martin, a priest of Kvatch, is told that he is Uriel Septim's illegitimate son. He doesn't believe you and mentions you're mistaken, and he's the son of a farmer. You explain Kvatch was attacked because of that fact. He begins to believe you, given all you've done for Kvatch, and he accompanies you back to Waynon. Waynon, whatever. Martin believes you fairly quickly.
Well, yeah,
like,
it's the name of the game. It's
right.
Just
it's
like,
just like he.
Well, and I think the idea is he's a man of God, and he's like, I don't know why, but I trust you. Like
yeah,
almost like his father.
And he's like, he also mentions like the fact that like this is happening is like crazy.
Yeah.
Like he has a pretty interesting background. We'll get to it at one point. But
and it's funny because he's a priest of Kvatch.
Yeah,
near the end, obviously. But
yeah, I don't know if he's like where that lore is expounded that he like meddled with Sanguine and he
Yeah,
had
and he
a
says he
background
like
as,
they
a
mentioned
Daedra
he
courser.
dabbled in like a little bit of Daedra stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you give him the Sanguine Rose, he's like, oh, I wielded this once.
That's interesting.
Which is
I didn't
pretty
know that.
interesting.
Yeah.
So like that seems like the best. He has different dialogue for like every artifact you can give him, but that one is like
I didn't realize you can. What does giving him those artifacts get you? I didn't even realize.
If you remember in the main quest, he needs it for like a ritual.
Oh right, I forget. You have to find
any Daedric artifact.
Right. I forgot.
Yeah, and again, whatever one you give him,
He'll make a note of in some way.
He has like some different dialogue. He's like, oh, this, and that. So,
by the way, this next point I never did the first time I played it. I didn't even realize that there was more to the siege after you get Martin. Like that's the funny thing about these games. I just left with him. I just was like, oh, let's go.
Yeah,
like, you don't have to continue the siege. You could just leave and then just come back and do it whenever you want.
That's so weird.
Isn't it weird?
Yeah, because that's why I said, I'm like, it's weird that you can just pick him up there
and then just leave. Yeah, you really don't have to go through the whole thing. That quest was bugged a little bit for me, the siege.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't as bad as I think you were dealing with, but mine by the end he wouldn't come into the castle with me.
That's what happened to me.
So I just had to go through by myself and I just got the key.
And I was just like, I tried to reload it, dude. The difficulty. So I started on expert and I very quickly put it back to adept. I'm like, this is redonkulous.
Yeah.
What did you kind of have that issue with like the difficulty? And I feel like now adept is finally kind of like, okay, it's a bit challenging, but like I'm not dealing with this. I know the Elder Scrolls difficulty bullshit. I know they're like not good and there is no improvement to the balancing there. So I kind of was just like, I'm putting it on adept and leaving it.
I'm switching it here and there to like even lower sometimes just because I'm just getting my ass kicked in certain caves and I'm just like, I'm going to turn this down here really quick and then turn it back up.
So the Malakath quest I talked about, I did that. And this only last night. And it's Lord Drad and he has the ogre slaves. Do you remember this?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So you go into the cave and there's like his guards. They're all in Daedric armor.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
big glass stuff. But that's just the
dude,
way.
I'm like, I feel like the game's kind of like breaking.
Well, and that's
like, because of the scaling.
And I feel like that's kind of how it does start to happen even in Skyrim. Like once you start getting to higher levels, you start seeing ebony armor on people.
Yeah, I don't remember it being
I don't remember it being as drastic.
Yeah,
I agree.
because I was like, dude, I don't even have a full ebony set, and I'm like level 20, and I'm like, I'm not wearing the Daedric stuff. Like I'm like, it's kind of like breaking
I've just
my
been
immersion.
wearing. By the way, the armor, the redesign on the Dark Brotherhood armor looks awesome. It looks so
Does it look
good.
more like Skyrim's or no?
No, I hate Skyrim's design. Honestly, yeah, and just the shape, the body, the whole design of it, I really don't love in Skyrim. I think it just looks better in this, and I think the design, like, there's a lot of like pouches and straps, and it just looks very detailed and cool. I like it a lot. I've been mostly rocking that, and some mages outfits here and there too.
So you're light.
Yeah.
See, like seeing that, like them, like
I do
these
think
guys
it's
are
more
fucking hard. They're sponges, and then like the fact that they like have all this cool stuff, and it's just like I don't feel like I deserve it yet.
Right? No, I agree.
So I mean, that's the same.
But
thought
also,
with, like if I did the Knights on the Nine, I'm not there yet. Like
Yeah.
in my notoriety and my fame.
Right,
like I can't be wearing the Knights on the Nine armor.
Are you crazy?
Before I've even like beat the game. Like,
Yeah.
can't do that. Yeah, so you lead your small group of Kvatch soldiers and legionaries who saw smoke from the road to retake the castle, but the gate is closed. Bayrich Enan will escort you through the Undercroft to the gatehouse. If he perishes, you must take the key and push the rest of the way there. I got him to the end. Like, I very specifically, like, I'm going to try to save all these guys. And then I get to the gatehouse where the lever is, and they're just outside. Like, 3 of them died.
Yeah,
I'm like, what the fuck?
It's impossible. Yeah.
I'm like, these idiots.
And then he got locked up there, and I did the same thing. I just ran through and got the key or whatever from the king or the count, and then
yeah. So you open the gate, you'll regroup with the other men, take out the Daedra, and this is where the bug happened. You'll go into the castle, you search for Count Ornelius Goldwine, alive or dead, and he is dead. You'll find him in his chambers. Take his Clovian signet ring for his successor. And Kvatch is in ruins, but remains quiet for now. You return to Martin and begin the journey to Waynon. So yeah, I didn't know, like you were saying, I didn't know you didn't have to finish that. Yeah. And it's not really a part of the main quest, but like it feels like it should be.
Yeah.
And it feels like you should only be able to talk to Martin and get
once
the quest
you finish all that.
once you leave.
Yeah.
So, after Kvatch, I went straight to Waynon. There was really between going to Waynon and going to Cloud Ruler where I did more stuff. Like I was
the
talking
Waynon's
about.
killing me. I
Wayne
don't know
and
why.
Waynon.
It's
It's Wayne. Wayne and Priory.
It's Wayne, but you know why? I know why you're saying that. It's
It's
what's
Krypton.
what's the it's that, but what's the alien?
Wayne and Wayne on
Wayland Yutani.
Wayland Yutani.
Yeah. I don't know why. I keep thinking of that. Yeah.
So we go back to Wayne. I didn't have this problem until this podcast. Upon arrival, Ornir will run up to you to greet you with some bad news. The Mythic Dawn agents are attacking the Priory, and in the name of the late Priory Mabel, you must kill these assassins with the help of Brother Piner. After they're dead, you'll find Joffrey as he has his hands full of killing more agents in the chapel. After you help Joffrey kill off the assassins, he will want to check on the Amulet of Kings, and as he suspected, the amulet has been taken and will need to be recovered. Joffrey suggests taking Martin to Cloud Ruler Temple, a safe haven for the Blades, located northwest of Bruma. So that's where we'll stop for our coverage and our structure of the main story. We'll pick up in the next episode with getting to Cloud Ruler Temple. I feel like a lot unfolded there that I was like, let's leave it.
That's a good idea.
We already
I think that's
lot.
actually a good stop.
Yeah, even though it's like in the middle of the quest, it's like once you get to Cloud Ruler and like you become a blade, there's like more lore.
It's funny. I
more things
forgot
are going
about
on.
like them attacking Wayne after that. There are a few little key points where I was like, oh yeah, that's how we get then pushed to Cloud
Yeah,
Ruler.
I mean, it's funny. Like, you know, the Mythic Dawn are a thing before this, but they really seem to have their shit together. Like every step of the way, they kill the Emperor. Kvatch gets invaded. They know where you're going, where he is, where the Blades are. Like they do seem like one step ahead of you.
They have a Daedric Prince behind their back, but guess what, Gooch? The gods are watching. The gods will save us all. Talos, save us. Fantastic stuff, man. It's been a lot of fun. I'm excited to go home and play some more tonight and actually like progress the main story again a little.
Yeah. I think the only things from my notes I didn't mention. I didn't start the Fighters or the Mages Guild at all. I can't even step foot in a guild. I can't.
Mages Guild, I finished. Or no, I'm not finished. I'm at the college. I got all the recommendations from everyone.
So maybe before we end, I just wanted so how should we talk about like stuff you do that I don't? Because like I'm kind of like making the doc around things like with the guilds.
Right.
Like, I mean, we talked about the arena. Like there's
Right.
not much to say, so that was fine. But it's like, okay, you finished Knights of the Nine. So like, should we talk about it when I get to it? Like,
Yeah, I think so. Well, I think I can bring up what I thought on it like I just did. And then
Right.
I think once you finish it, you can kind of talk
can
about
go
your
in-
thoughts, and then I can also expound upon that again as well.
yeah, I mean, you know, I like wanted it like for the Knights of the Nine. I'm like, yeah, like talking about Pelennor Whitestrake and like maybe the lore of the Knights of the Nine would make sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where like the tricky part comes, and it's more than just like the stranger tasks in Red Dead. It's like there's like
Of course.
maybe there is less than I think, like you said.
No, but
it's
yeah.
just like especially with like the Dark Brotherhood, like, and then talking about like the in between of like Skyrim would be interesting.
Right.
But yeah, it's interesting because I don't want to like dismiss you and what you're doing
No, I
and
know what you
have
mean.
not talking about in depth. But then again, like
I think that just kind of comes from, and that's not. I don't think it's dismissing at all. I think it's just more where again our main tackle is that main quest. That's where we're keeping up with each other. The rest is we're going to just talk about it as we feel.
yeah,
you
and
know?
that's why they're called sessions, right?
Right,
I'm not gonna. I think the name of the Re3s could probably change to help with like SEO, and just naming it generally instead of like introduction. But then again, I think it's minutia,
Absolutely.
friends, minutia.
Absolutely.
I did want to have an ending segment for each episode, maybe a little different. And I didn't prep you with this, but you would be able to easily answer. Are you watching any like Oblivion content creators? Like, are you watching any streams or like any specific people that like, since the remaster dropped, I've been like checking out their stuff because like I thought it would be kind of fun to
Not particularly, sadly.
No, it's okay. I kind of figured you weren't. I'm like, this is more for me than it is trio. But yeah, I have been watching some streamers and some like content creators. Dark Lord Dash, if you're really into the lore of Oblivion, he has tons of videos on not really just the remaster, but before. So you can he kind of does like these immersive let's plays of like the guilds and quest lines, and usually they're sort of, you know, dreadful and dark related, but you know, it's kind of like an in-depth let's play, which is kind of what these podcasts are. you know, of like, it's more than just talking about the game and like, oh, like, we're covering this quest. We're like getting a little bit in depth and stuff like that. Imperial Knowledge is another Elder Scrolls lore YouTuber. His content is more like lectures than anything, and he has a ton of topics, and he's just been, I noticed he was doing Oblivion Remaster content, but I've been going through his content sort of slowly as I was playing Skyrim. So if you're interested in any lore, I would check Imperial Knowledge out. And Dan's Gaming and Wooden Potatoes, I've been watching their, like, just their streams of it, like putting it on in the background. And yeah, it's been really fun to, again, like, get all this Oblivion again.
Right.
You know, I don't think
it gets the itch going for sure.
Yeah. I don't think we'll have this for Skyrim or anything like that. Maybe Morrowind, like we were saying. And even Arena and Daggerfall could probably do with a remake.
I was going to
kind of just inject those into the zeitgeist again, just like Oblivion.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Daggerfall does seem like a pretty wild game going back, and I played like a little bit of it, like 20 minutes probably. But for how old that game is, it is wildly technical, and like for how much you can do, it's interesting.
I don't think Arena and Daggerfall are even on Steam. They might actually.
I think Daggerfall is. I know Daggerfall's like on Xbox.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, it's on the Xbox app. You can just play it with Game Pass, but it's PC Game Pass only. So okay. Yeah, I don't think you can play that on console.
Did you try?
I did. And it's just
you're just like
it's so tough. Well, I just didn't even know what I was doing, and it's like, dude, the way all the controls are mapped and everything, like you walk with like you walk with like.
Do you walk,
it just doesn't
like,
make any
spaces?
sense. No. It's much more modern than I would have expected in the way of how you explore the environment, but it's just the gameplay mapping or like the actual like controller mapping is just odd. And I'd have to go through and like make it a bit more. It's like you use your left click to not like interact with things. Like you do it at a different. I don't know. It's very odd. But apparently the Unity version is much more streamlined and much more accessible as like a contemporary gamer. So I would love to maybe try that one day.
The Unity version.
Apparently, there's one that runs on Unity. That's
so
like
somebody
a different.
Remade it.
I think so,
Like
or like
Sky Oblivion.
Sort of. I think it's like it's still the same game, but I think it's just modernized in the way it controls and it runs better.
Okay,
but I might be wrong. You'd have to look.
Yeah, again, that's why I even questioned. I was like, I don't even know if they're on Steam because those games are old.
Old, yeah.
Like there's only a few old games that old that are on Steam because they need like a old games don't run well just because they're old. Like they need.
Yeah, they need to be ported in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Anything else, Gooch?
No. Long podcasting day, I gotta admit. I knew that Oblivion one was going to be long. But yeah, I'm enjoying the little bit more free form. I'm enjoying the structure. And I think now as we get past the first one where we don't have the introduction and there's a bit of a prequel into the actual conversation, it'll not flow better, but there will be much more conversation as we go.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the product of the first episode in Re3. And for us, I think.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of expounding, for sure.
Yeah, it's a lot of background. And yeah, that's the point of the Re3s where we're replaying, reliving, and re-experiencing the games. It's the in-depth dive on the background. And,
absolutely.
Even though we're playing a new Remastered, we know a lot about this game to be able to talk about it more than just review.
And it's in essence the same game.
And if you've been joining us for the first time, we appreciate your listening and getting through this podcast.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is a commitment one. I appreciate it. Thanks for being here with all of us today. All of us, meaning Gooch and I. We really appreciate you watching us live on twitch.tv/Delco Network. We usually don't record these live, but, we're feeling a little frisky, so this one is. We appreciate you being here with us today. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Just search Delco Network on your service of choice. We have a Facebook page, a Discord channel. That will all be linked down below. You can find us on all the social medias at Delco Nerds on, everything with an @ sign. All this information's on our website, delconerdnetwork.com. You can even email us your comments, questions, or concerns to delconerds@gmail.com. We are happy to get back to you. But for Gooch, I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy, and we will see you next time.